I don't want to fight. Yeah. A lot of people say programs like that. That's we've got this.
That's him. He's just come in the door with the brown cowboy hat. Kid in the purple shirt. It's right there in front of us.
Over here,
Thank you very much for giving us a little bit of a break. This time we will hear a presentation by L&M Entertainment, LLC.
Got some, Eugene?
Good afternoon, Chairman Lewis, commissioners, staff, the Attorney General's office, and I guess also the Governor's office in the state of New Mexico, because we are actually streaming live, I understand it, so welcome everybody. And certainly welcome to the city of Clovis and the Curry County community. We appreciate you all being here today. My name is Ken Mimek, and I'm part of the L&M Entertainment team. I've been brought in to oversee project development as well as operations of our fine Curry Downs racetrack and casino project. I know you've all had a long day. This has been a long process over the last few weeks. The amount of information that you've gotten has been enormous, but we appreciate your attention and your time. I know that this has been an exhausting process for you, so I want to assure you we have an exciting presentation for you, and I also want to promise you that we are not going to take the full 90 minutes that you allotted us, so you can hold us to that. Today's presentation, we will include a great detail about our team, our design team, our construction team, the horse racing team we put before you, gaming, food, and beverage. We're also going to tell you about the safest track in New Mexico. We're going to design and implement the first turf track in New Mexico. And we have some of the highest quality folks in the horse racing industry to design our dirt track as well as our turf track. That's extremely important to us. We know it's important to you. We're also going to spend a lot of time on our restaurant and entertainment and the other things that will help assist growing this industry and growing the economy for this side of the state. We'll spend some time on the positive impacts in Clovis and Curry County and eastern New Mexico. And we will tell you why we believe this is the best project for New Mexico. Joining me in making the presentation today are two very important people that are part of the L&M team. Mr. Doug Reed probably needs no introduction. Most of you know him as one of the foremost racing operations people in the country. Doug has spent years and years running symposiums for the industry, training folks in the industry, and has even operated facilities right here in New Mexico. So we're very honored to have Doug as part of our team. Another great talent, probably equally as impressive, is Mr. Skip Sayer. He's in charge of our branding, marketing, advertising, sales, and entertainment. And as you all know, marketing is extremely important to the difference between a mediocre project and an outstanding one. Skip is one of the foremost branding executives in the country. Before we get into the formal part of and the details of our presentation, I'd like to tell you a little bit about who L&M Entertainment is. L&M Entertainment is a joint venture between two very robust companies, very diversified, very financially sound, have extremely strong balance sheets, and are committed to do this project for you, the horsemen of New Mexico, and the eastern side of the state in Curry County. Miller Companies is one of the foremost gaming machine supply and finance companies in the country. Getting its start in the early 1990s, was the largest private machine supplier in the state of Oklahoma, and quickly grew to routes in Louisiana, Illinois, and most recently Pennsylvania. Miller Companies is owned by Mr. Rob Miller, the CEO, and he's with us today. He's one of the managing partners of L&M Entertainment. Rob. The other piece of our joint venture company is a very strong and diversified company, and that's Laguna Development Corporation, who formed a company called Curry Downs LLC to be the other joint venture partner of L&M Entertainment. Both of these companies are not publicly traded companies, they're private companies, but I assure you they're very substantial, more substantial than many of the information that you heard today. LDC is a diversified company that's been operating here in New Mexico since 1998, employing thousands and thousands of New Mexicans, paying millions and millions upon millions of dollars in state tax revenue sharing to the state of New Mexico, and is an extremely important part of this economy. We're known for some of our gaming operations, the Route 66 Casino and Hotel, which is 14 miles west of Albuquerque, and Dancing Eagle Casino, which is about 45 miles west of Albuquerque. We also run such national brands as Dairy Queen and Johnny Rockets. We even have formed our own franchises, the Thunder Road Steakhouse and Casino, and most recently, you may have heard of it, the Laguna Burger. It's taking out the Kobe restaurant right now. It's been a fantastic operation, and we're very proud of it. We also operate two of the largest travel centers in the state. We sell over 90 million gallons of fuel every year. And we're extremely proud of that and starting to diversify even further for the state of New Mexico. And what I mean by that is we are working on bringing some new technology and refining diesel fuel to New Mexico. It'll make an enormous impact on pollution and bring down the cost of fuel refining. We've also affiliated ourselves with a company that is bringing the first ever new refreshing, recycling, and reuse technology in water development in the world. It will be the first down here. We expect it to be operational next year. And why do I bring that up? because water is extremely important. I don't know if you all know it or not, you probably do, but New Mexico sits on one of the largest brackish water reservoirs in the world. And learning how to efficiently use and treat that and recycle that water is extremely important, just as it's important to this community here in eastern New Mexico. So we have a very diverse company. We also have very diverse talent. We've also brought in some of the best experts possible that we could find in the racing industry. Froelich, Cow, and Gong are world-class architect designers. Starting in the late 1930s were some of the first formal architect designers that there were in this country. And Mr. Gordon Gong was one of those folks, and he's with us today. We also have HBG Architects, which is one of the top 5 gaming architect companies in the country. And so we're very happy to have Mr. Rick Gardner with us as well, the CEO and chairman of HBG. And last, probably most important, I mentioned him earlier, and that's Mr. Doug Reed, who will lead our racing operations for L&M Entertainment. I mentioned our team, our diverse team, and I'd like to just take a minute to tell you and show you how substantial our team is. These are people who are here right now, and part of the, we don't need to go out and find these people. They are already part of our team and particularly focused on this project. I mentioned earlier Mr. Rob Miller, who's the CEO of Miller Companies. We also have with us our chairman of the board, Mr. John Black. John and the Black family have been part of New Mexico's development and ranching community since probably before New Mexico became a state. So he's very important to us, and he provides leadership to our LDC family of companies. We also have our CEO and president, Mr. Jerry Smith, who actually was one of the founding members of the Lunar Development Corporation starting in 1998. And Jerry's responsible for assembling the team you see before you today and the crews that run the family of operations that we have right now. We also have Mr. Howard Funches, who's in charge of our finance part of L&M Entertainment. Howard is an accountant by trade, and 10 years ago joined the LDC family of companies to lead up the finance operations. We also have with us Mr. Steve Shavanek, who is in charge of our human resources for L&M Entertainment. Steve is a 25-year veteran person in human resources, and he will lead up hiring and helping us train the more than 300 people that will be a part of this operation permanently. Mr. Jorge Brazil, he's in charge of our award-winning food, that you can go right now west of Albuquerque and taste the award-winning food that we operate and serve in our facilities. And I like to call him the most interesting man in the world because he looks like the Dos Equis guy to me. We also have with us Mr. G.T. Mason, over 40 years of experience in building and constructing facilities. Started first with the Burrs companies in the southwestern United States, built most of those stores, and joined the LDC family about 15 years ago, who built most of the facilities you see today. A gentleman who could not be with us today is Mr. Ed Cater, who's in charge of our IT communications. But he's got an outstanding team who was with us and helped assemble some of this to work with the city and this event center to do it. So I'd like to introduce Preston Bell and Sam Gagnon, he's here as well. These folks are outstanding systems people. And the reason those are so important, you heard a lot about technology today, and we agree. We need to be on the cutting edge of technology, and believe me, LDC is one of those companies. These gentlemen are certified in virtually every language there is, every program there is. They have the ability to make things talk to each other that I could never have imagined. And they are probably the most service-oriented IT company I've ever had the chance to deal with. And I've had over 80 clients since I've been operating my own company and before I joined L&M. Also with us, I mentioned to you our world-class track designer, Mr. Gordon Gong. So Gordon, I know you already said hi, but we want to make sure that you understand that he's designed tracks all over the world, from Dubai to the Philippines, to right here in the United States. Del Mar, as an example, Belmont has been part of those tracks. So we appreciate having Gordon as part of our team to make sure this is done world class. Mr. Steve Wood could not be with us tonight. He's part of the grand opening in Fresno, so he couldn't be here. Many of you know who Steve is. And as a surface designer, as a technician, as a maintenance person, he will make sure we have the best service possible. We also have with us, I mentioned before, HBG Architects, the chairman and CEO, Rick Gardner. Rick, if you wouldn't mind standing up again. I mentioned that Rick's company is one of the top 5 gaming design companies in the world. So we've taken the racing design and the gaming design and made that part of our team. So we appreciate that he's with us today. And then we have Mr. Joel Less. Joel is from Klinger Construction. Klinger Construction, as you may or may not know, is one of the top 5 contractors in the state of New Mexico. They are the #1 private sector builder in New Mexico. So we also have with us Janice Delaney. Janice is one of our marketing folks who does a lot of our social media marketing, internet marketing. We also have with us Alicia Sanisek, who's our interim in-house counsel and was part of our human resources department, has been part of our team for a number of years. And the person who actually runs us all is Alicia Chavez. And Alicia is here. She makes sure we're everywhere on time, and we really appreciate having someone like that to be part of our team. So I know this was potentially painful for all of you. I really do appreciate your attention, letting me go through this. The reason I did is because I wanted to make sure that I drove home the point of how ready we are for this. We've staffed this appropriately. We thought we've got the best people in the world to make sure this grows the horse racing industry, grows the economy for Eastern New Mexico, and grows the economy for the state. So this is not about what we could do. We're not going to go out and find financing. We've got financing. We put the equity into this to make sure that this gets done now. This is all about what we will do. And we've started with a single phase of a plan, and we have future growth and development plans, but we wanted to make sure that what we showed you was what you knew was going to get done.
Curry County is home to 50,000 residents. This beautiful location is filled with hardworking people who are proud to be part of the community. The Curry Downs Racetrack and Casino Project provides a unique opportunity for Clovis, Curry County, and Eastern New Mexico. It will bring high-quality jobs, generate a long-term economic impact, and will make the town of Clovis a destination attraction. Laguna Development Corporation and the Miller Companies have combined all their areas of expertise to form L&M Entertainment LLC, based in Albuquerque.
One of the exciting parts of this operation is the team assembly. We've got racing experts, food and beverage experts, entertainment experts, gaming experts, which all are needed to make a successful operation.
The team at Miller Companies has been working in the Clovis community for over 8 years. We're incredibly excited to bring great jobs and great opportunities to all stakeholders in the city.
After years of planning, L&M has organized a team of experts in leadership and development. We have created the most comprehensive strategy to make the Curry Downs Racetrack and Casino and the Curry County community a huge success. The Route 66 Casino and Hotel in Albuquerque is operated by the Laguna Development Corporation. The property has been one of New Mexico's most successful entertainment attractions since 2003. It has provided thousands of jobs and created successful financial opportunities for Laguna, Albuquerque, and the entire state of New Mexico. L&M has created a team of top-level racing managers to oversee the racetrack operations and schedules. The team is made up of world-class industry experts who understand every aspect of quarter horse and thoroughbred racing.
The firm has designed over 70 racing projects throughout the world.
We spare no expense in bringing in the expertise that's needed to make sure that this operation is done well for racing and helps improve the racing industry in New Mexico.
Laguna Development Corporation has an impressive track record of developing successful business ventures over its 20-year history. Thunder Road Steakhouse and Cantina, as well as Laguna Burger, are 2 prominent examples of LDC's ability to successfully launch new business concepts.
I'm really excited about the opportunity to pair the incredible musical tradition of Clovis with our extensive experience in the presentation of superstar entertainment and special events.
L&M is committed to making the Curry Downs Racetrack and Casino a resounding success. Our capital investment of $75 million will produce over 90 million of annual economic impact, gaming tax revenues of over 15 million per year, and will create more than 600 jobs, including construction and full-time jobs.
You have to think of the trickle down of that and how that's going to affect our towns positively. Those folks that now have good paying jobs, they're going to be out buying groceries, they're going to be out buying homes, they're going to be out buying cars, they're going to be upgrading. That's tax revenue for the cities. They're going to be spending in your businesses. They're going to be putting other people to work.
The tourism will be huge. That's going to help local businesses.
Clovis is my home, and this will help us more than anything we've seen in the last 50 years.
So we're a New Mexico company, and we're really looking forward to expand the economy and grow the economy in Clovis, New Mexico.
New Mexico has been waiting for something unbelievable. We are ready to create the next great entertainment destination in the region, a world-class casino and racetrack. We want to create jobs. We want to make an economic impact. We want to put Curry County on track for a better future. We're L&M Entertainment.
The Racing Commission has an incredibly difficult decision to make. They can choose a flashy project, they can choose an underdog project, but it's going to take real courage to pick a project that will actually get done. That project is Curry Downs.
The team at Curry Downs Racetrack and Casino is committed to this project 1,000%.
So Clovis is the right place. And how did we decide upon that? We didn't just recently come to Clovis and identify this as the place we wanted to put in a proposal. Mr. Miller and his company was here in 2011 and had identified this as if there was going to be another license, that this was the right place to be. The Laguna Development Corporation, led by one of our chief operating officers, Kevin Greer, was one of those people who was here 4 years ago, working with the community here. And we haven't left. We've been part of the Chamber of Commerce. We continue to be involved in the entertainment and things that go on in this community. We think it's extremely important that we're not just someone who recently identified this is the right place to be. Obviously, we're flattered because now there are other respondents that also believe this is the right part of the state for this to be. So the core markets of Clovis and Amarillo and Lubbock you've heard about yesterday and today. And we know that the way an economy grows is to have more revenue coming in than is going out. We did a market survey ourselves. We also did a phone survey to find out whether or not this community was really in favor of this type of a project. And overwhelmingly, they said that they were. They also said that they needed some entertainment here, because right now what's happening is people from this side of the state go to Amarillo and go to Lubbock and spend their money. Now there's an opportunity for them to stay here, keep that spending here, as well as attract new revenue and spending here to this side of the state. So we know that this project will meet actually all of the standards that you have as part of this act in growing tourism, creating jobs, growing the horse industry, growing local community and tax revenue. This will have an enormous benefit here locally. Rock solid financing. I can't emphasize that enough. We gave you a very detailed entry and license application that showed our financing. It showed the details of what we were planning on building. We had schematic designs. We had policies and procedures. We had information on our team. We also told you that we are committed to making sure this project happens and the state of New Mexico and the racing industry does not have to go through again what it did last time that this license was awarded. What that means is that we've provided a very reliable project. One, when we spoke to finance companies, we had a lot of interest. OXIP told us, well, here's what you need to have a reliable project in a place that makes sense, and then you need to put in equity. And if you put in a substantial amount of equity, we'll have no problem financing this, which you've seen in our application. We're committed to providing the equity needed to make sure this project gets financed. We've already committed $30 million of equity, and our partner OXIP will lend $45 million. The other thing that's unique about that is it's OXIP's own money that exists in a fund today. It's not going to have to go out and raise the money somewhere else and talk to banks and parse it out. It's their decision to make, it's their money, just as it's our equity to make sure this happens. So this represents an investment with a realistic and practical opportunity and provides a substantial return on investment for New Mexico and the horsing industry. We're in a highly desirable location. We appreciate very much your visit to our property this morning. We had an opportunity to talk about some of the details there, some of which I'll repeat now. And that is, we are on 169 acres there, not far from Highway 60. We have access on the road to the east, and we also have the opportunity to have another access a little further to the west. We border the city limits in most of our property on the south. So we have access immediately and right now to have that property annexed, because we also know that part of a successful operation is the ability to have alcohol, have a beer when you're watching the races, have a beer when you're sitting down doing simulcast and watching TV. And that's extremely important, and we have the ability to do that. You have in your application book, the last page, a letter from the city of Clovis that confirms that, as well as something else that I think is extremely important, and that's water. To this part of the state, water is extremely important. We have water rights with our property. We have 169 acre-feet of water that we can use and consume right now, and we have limits that go as high as 507. We have the ability through our technology and also working with the city, which is another item that's in that letter, that says that they will provide us access, almost an unlimited amount of access, to reuse water out of their plant, which means we have the ability to do landscaping, water the track, do all those kinds of things from reused and recycled water out of the plant here, right in the city of Clovis. So some of the comments that we heard yesterday, really we've solved those issues. There are real issues for this part of the state, but we have solved them. I'd like to spend a little bit of time with our diagram that was done by HBG as well as Gordon Gong to talk through a little bit about the site. We talked about that this morning. I'll repeat some of it. You see the barns there? We have 14 barns with 72 stalls each for the horses that are racing. But in total, we have over 1,400 barns, including quarantine, including horse wash stations, including tap, including feeding, all of that which we know is needed for the track. We also have dormitories. We understand that that needs to be a better situation, not having people in tap rooms. We need to have a good facility for them. We also have you can see the building in the top corner, and that's our maintenance building. We need to make sure that we have appropriate maintenance. On the front side, you can see the paddock there towards the bottom. We have very convenient access to the paddock quarters for the jockeys and for the horses. We think that's extremely important, and the breeders. You can see in the forefront there, which is the farthest to your left, is the casino. That's a 51,000 square foot building, a little over a 15,000 square foot casino, and it has both outside access and inside access into the grandstand. The grandstand footprint is about 28,000 square feet, and it's a multi-level facility. We're very proud of this. I'm extremely excited about this project. One of the things that I did when I had my own casino management and development company is we put the first casino in the state of Oklahoma, and that was Remington Park. And as you know, Remington Park is an outstanding facility, an enormous piece of infrastructure. And that project is similar to the way most projects are for casinos in the United States. And that is you're taking an existing facility, maybe aging, and a whole staff that's been operating that for years and years and years, and closing upon it, casino staff. And what I love about this opportunity is we have the chance up front to do this all right and have a team built, working together, making synergistic decisions, making it efficient, joint marketing, making the right priorities to make sure this pie grows for everybody. So we're very pleased about this. We're pleased about this opportunity. And we love the fact that the state of New Mexico is looking at this together. I mentioned earlier our world-class racetrack designers, and I mentioned some of these facilities that they've been a part of. And the reason I show this slide again is because this is about the horse industry. in the racing industry. And wanted to make sure that you understand that we are committed. We're committed to having the best talent here we possibly can and doing this right. We do have plans for construction. We have plans that if you grant this license to us, and we are that fortunate, we're ready to go. We will start immediately in January. We'll have necessary plans and permits done, and we'll be breaking ground in June. We plan on about a 12-month construction process, and we target a grand opening in the summer of 2020. So again, we're not out trying to find these resources. We have these resources for New Mexico today. So with that, I'd like to turn the reins to Mr. Doug Reed. Thank you.
I'm going to go off topic for just 1 second. I walked in the room this morning and I saw a court reporter and I go, oh my, I talk really fast. So I took the liberty to talk to your court reporter and I told her she has absolute liberty to slow me down. And you know what, I'm passionate about racing and I start talking faster when I talk about something I'm passionate about. So you have my okay. Good afternoon, Chairman Willis. Good afternoon, commissioners. Good afternoon, commission staff. Thanks for your dedication. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited about the chance to come back to New Mexico. I've titled my section, Racing to the Future. In my opinion, the status quo is not an option. The commission is already down that road with vast improvements you have made in security, safety, and integrity. Let's continue that. We have built a team with core competencies. We have the core competencies in place and more to come. I've already talked to a few people, identified some people that would like to join the team if we win this application. We have a great network between the three of us already on the team and resources. That team has worked locally, nationally, and internationally. In our application, we have detailed the rules, safety, integrity, the safety needs, key suppliers for such a project, numerous architectural drawings, the New Mexico Racing Commission requirements, entertainment, financing, and fun in the customer. You know, look around the room, none of that's new stuff for this presentation, that's all in the application. Our team is ready to go, and we have the global resources. And I'd like to explain just a little bit in the next couple of slides about that. Some of you know me, some of you don't. My CV's in the application, but my CV may not fully illustrate the resources that are my strengths. We also have others on the team with similar strengths. I think my strengths are my experiences and my network. I've been licensed in at least 8 states. I've worked at least 15 racetracks, 0 violations, by the way. As an instructor, and we have to put together textbooks. You know, there isn't a textbook on racing management, so we have to assemble all that stuff, which is kind of nice because as an academic, that means obviously the university has got that material, but I also co-own that material, so I have all that material. As an instructor, I also have great resources. The alumni network, the global network, the track network from my working days. Just like to give you just one little example. Putting all this together, I had a lot of job descriptions, but I said, you know, I want to get some more current ones. Some of these are a little outdated. I called a former grad student at a track, and within 2 days, he sent me every job description of all the racing personnel. So again, that's a great resource. I've consulted for the New Mexico Racing Commission legal team. I've consulted for the New Mexico Breeders. I've consulted for New Mexico Tracks. I've consulted for other racetracks, other racing commissions. I've consulted with consulting groups. In fact, I was involved in an exciting project of the recent economic impact study for the horse industry nationwide. I've been responsible for the racing content in North America's largest racing symposium for over 20 years. And as an educator, I've got to tell you, I look forward to working with the local community colleges too. You might recognize a few of these names on this slide, a few of them working in New Mexico or have worked in New Mexico. These are only just a small sample of those students that come through while I was there. You know, it doesn't include some former students that came through the program before me, like Bob Baffert, Todd Fletcher. I'm excited to work with this team because you need both gaming and racing to maximize the benefits for the racing industry, the breeders, the trainers, the owners, the jockeys, and maximize this benefit for the state, the economy, agriculture, tourism. Again, our intent is to look at the long run, experiment, and grow. We want to make racing fun. We want to provide great customer service. And I know this group provides great customer service. I've been to their facilities. And again, I said the 2015 symposium was my last in charge. And that symposium was all about innovation and new ideas. You know, with the growth of the new racing facility here in the state and the growth of the business, it's going to increase purses, it's going to increase breeders' funds, it's going to increase economic impact. So let me take a look at the next few slides and just talk a little bit about that with growth and change in mind. As I said, the last symposium I was in charge with was a focus on positive ideas and innovation. The 2018 McKinsey report that was just released in August at the Jockey Club Roundtable cites that 64% of fans were introduced by going to the track. I think it's actually higher than that, but we'll take their number. I think tracks need to be innovative at their venues. We had horse racing's first idea pitch contest at that conference, and you know, the winner is actually releasing their product in Australia this year, and I hope it comes to the States sometime. I don't have time to tell you about that, but I hope it does. We had another session on 45 ideas in 45 minutes. We brought many international ideas to racing through the symposium. I was in New Zealand and I saw a bet called the Flexi Bet. I got them to come here and speak, and it wasn't long, I think it was about 6 or 8 months after that, was the introduction in this country of the dime superfecta and the dime wagers and things like that you see now. Also brought the founder of Betfair to the symposium, so people know what's going on outside of our little world. And of course now, there's a couple states that have rules, and Jersey already has exchange wagering. Let's make racing fun and have good customer service. You know, in the application, we talked a little bit about minor league baseball. Minor league baseball reinvented themselves. And you know what? They were a phenomenal success. You know how successful they were? The major leagues copied a lot of what they do. How about that? The majors copied the minors. Baseball reinvented itself. Why can't racing reinvent itself? You know, one of the things in our application we mentioned is the possibility of festivals. We'd like to rebrand that concept of festivals and steal an idea from Australia. They call racing carnivals. Think about the ideas you could have with racing carnivals. You could have seasonal carnivals, fall or summer. You could have a thoroughbred or quarter horse carnival. You could have a turf racing carnival. You could have localized themed carnivals for Clovis. You could have family carnivals. The ideas, believe me, are endless. I saw match racing in Rio, and I thought, wow, you know, it's not something probably I would have come up with and done, because those of you that know me as a former racing secretary know how much field size means to me. But there's a big benefit if we could have very strictly regulated, enforced match races. What happened in Rio surprised me a little bit, to be honest. It was the last, occasionally they used a match race for the last race of the day. Everybody stayed all day. I was amazed you didn't have that after the 8th race or 9th race before people leaving. They all stayed to see something unique, the match race. You know, again, not a lot of them, but something I think we could try. Education is important. Again, as I said earlier, I'd love to work with community colleges, be an educator myself, but educating the fans is important. And something I would stress, and very important, would be win, place, and show wagering. Why? Because if you go to the track and you never see a cashier, I'm sorry, the experience isn't as good. You know, even if you're a net loser for the day, but if you cash a few tickets, I promise you the experience is a lot better. So I think that's important. But education throughout the year, even during simulcasting. You know, theoretically today in the simulcast world with common pooling, you know, everybody on site could actually be a winner. In the old days when you only had your own track, you're limited by that. But you need to educate them for a couple of reasons. One, to help with churn, because the more they win, the more dollars they churn. You want to reduce negative settlements. And there's professionals out there that they got to play against. So it's not just education for a short live race meet. That's a continuing thing. Horse clubs. have been a big success. You'll see on that screen, in 2015, I invited two former alumni, one from Canterbury and one from Emerald Downs to the symposium to talk about something new, or these new horse ownership clubs. And some of them were real ownership, some of them what I call quasi-ownership. Hundreds of people got to get the owner experience. And why is that great? Because it left people with the experience of being an owner. They got a lot of that experience. What they did is they brought all their friends when their horses were in. Attendance was great on those days. Some of them became permanent owners, or real owners, whatever you want to call it. Why not celebrate winners like the casinos do? Of course, we would respect those that want anonymity and don't want their name up in the lights, but have a wall of fame of winners and things like that. Why not involve the breeders and the horses? You know, if the commission would allow the jockeys to come out of the room for just a couple minutes between races, imagine them tossing t-shirts up to the crowd. You know, again, think about the possibilities. That last bullet on this slide is an acronym. It stands for word of mouth potential. I think you all know the power of word of mouth potential. The reason I bring that up is for two reasons. Word of mouth potential is great for PR because, you know, if you do some unique things, you get great PR, you get press, you get people writing about it. You know, it can be, you know, I don't say everything we do will be 100% winner, but you know, you've got to try things to be successful. And they're going to write about unique things. The other thing about word of mouth potential is people come to your track, and if you do something unique, what do? And they have a good experience. They go back and they go to their friends when they go home and say, oh, you know what happened at the track? This was fun. We have a couple ideas in our application too that I would say are obviously horsemen and breeders oriented. I'd like to talk a little bit about that. Whether you're Tom Brady or sit on the bench, you know they all get paid. Why shouldn't all our equine athletes get paid? I'd like to talk to the horsemen and sit down and talk to them. I've even talked to them a little bit already, but it would, you know, obviously we wait until we hopefully can win this application to talk about a starter's fee. It would help with the shipping costs, and it would help. We want to encourage, we want to make ownership a little better economic proposition, okay? It got me thinking about that, and a nationwide topic is super trainers. You may have heard that, but it got me thinking about just New Mexico. So I did a little research this past month, and I looked at the most recent two race meets a year, Sunland Park and Ruidoso. I got the data from the Equibase. The top 10 trainers, as far as the thoroughbred purses in Sunland Park, won 53% of all the purses. And I looked at Ruidoso, and I looked at the quarter horses for that meet. Of all the quarter horse purses, the top 10 trainers won 71% of all the purses. Even if you subtract the All-American Futurity, which I know is a big dollar figure, it's still a huge percentage. You know, we need to help owners. Not everybody has a top 10 horse or a top 10 trainer. So it's going to help the economics of racing, which is going to help the owners. I think it'll also help, you know, field size, which, again, I'm passionate about. The New Mexico breeders, how important. We put a couple options in there. Again, if we win, we'd like to sit down with them and talk to them and think, you know, what's the best for New Mexico? We put two options in. We can have a New Mexico Breeders' Day similar to the festival or the cup, as long as it's coordinated, not in conflict. You know, we really got to schedule stakes races in, you know, not in conflict. That would be one option. But I'd like to talk to them about a possible other option, which is something for that mid-level horse. You know, not everybody can breed a stake horse, or not everybody can buy a stake horse. You know, there's a lot of horses in the middle. There's a lot more horses in the middle than there are at the top. So why not celebrate New Mexico breeders and owners and have a day for them too? We've already got two for the stake horses. So again, that's something I'd like to talk about and see if we can do similar to the Claiming Crown, but we would make it right for New Mexico. If you remember, some of you that may know me from a while back, it was Pete Drypolter, Charlie Isles, and I put on the lineage. That was New Mexico, I believe's first Breeders' Day. And I'm proud to say I was part of that. And I think we made it a special day, and we'd like to do another special day, whether it be for the top or for that middle. We want to treat them like they should be. What if I ask you, what's the top 5 tracks in the United States? What's the top 5 tracks in the world? Give that just a half a second thought. Would you have Saratoga on your list? Maybe Del Mar? Would you have Keeneland? Would you have Arlington Park? Or maybe Hong Kong Jockey Club or Royal Ascot? Maybe Santa Anita? Did the tracks you think of have a turf course? You know, I believe that most people ask that question, most of the tracks on that list would have a turf course. We are proposing a turf course, as Ken already alluded to, but before I go there, I want to mention that we also have a very detailed plan for our dirt track. Okay, we have a detailed plan in our application. As he said, Steve would, because he's making sure that horses get around at the Fresno Fair safely today. He couldn't be here, but Steve Wood is going to be our track designer, and he will also provide the maintenance afterwards. I've talked to Steve, and I want to tell you just a brief story. Steve is already committed to us if we win this license. And not only is he going to build the track, he's going to make sure it's been maintained properly. One of two ways. One, if we don't conflict with Farmington, he's talking about having that crew be our crew. Okay. The other is, if not, he's going to get someone here that's going to be here and have been trained by him and can train. Let me just tell again a brief story. When I was at Santa Fe, we were having trouble with the track. We brought Steve Wood out, and he fixed the track. But more importantly, he serviced the track after that. He made sure to train our crew. He sent us a person named Jim Howard. Jim Howard, from that point on, was our track superintendent, and he stayed on several years after I was there. You know where Jim is today? He left Santa Fe, and he's the dirt superintendent at the Hong Kong Jockey Club. Probably one of the best tracks in the world, and he's been there for gosh knows how long. Turf racing is better. And if you look closely at that slide, I spelled better two ways on purpose, thinking of the betters and the betterness of turf racing. It's more exciting. You know, a lot of turf races actually have closer finishes. It's the horse's natural environment. You know, turf racing is growing quite a bit. It was 5% of all races in '91 and 17% in 2017. And then take that into account. It might not sound like a lot, but if you consider that there's 50% less races today than there were in '91, that's a significant change. Maybe more importantly, it's a safer surface. According to the Jockey Club injury database, the fatality rate is considerably lower on turf than dirt. There's a British horse racing study that studied over 800,000 horses in, I think, 77-some thousand races, and it confirmed how the turf races are better than their all-weather surfaces. You know, another thing, it helps field size. Turf racing fills better than dirt races. Again, the racing secretary may love them. I called I called another kind of a numbers nerd like me, and I said, what kind of statistics do you have? Well, Peter Berube was nice enough to email me 17 years of statistics. And over 17 years at Tampa Bay Downs, the weighted average of a dirt race versus a turf handled more than 30% better. Customers love turf. This is a quote from an article, I think it was August, the Ray Pollock report. The vice president of Santa Anita is talking about his customers love it, but read that last line. More importantly, his horsemen feel their horses do better on it, enabling them to run more often. Sweet. Turf racing is a safer bet. Just one more thing here on turf. In 2009 AAEP proceedings, Dr. Clark kind of put together a paper with some studies and was kind of advocating to improve track safety was to have more turf racing because the dirt racing surfaces and synthetic failed to match the safety of the performance of the best turf races, which is a great segue to my next slide, safety and integrity. Racing is addressing this issue now more than ever, and it must. Safety is also good corporate policy. We have many resources to draw from. Of course, the New Mexico Racing Commission is one of our best resources for that, which you guys have done great. We have a network between Steve and I. It was just a couple months ago, Steve Cook, who I've known for 15 years, emailed me the 2018 NTRA Code of Standards, which was just released in June. I also have already safety plans from tracks from my teachings. We can call on other tracks to get best practices. The New Mexico rules as far as safety and track equipment are very important, and we've addressed them in our application. We need to have a survey of the track approved by you. We need to have proper drainage. We need to have the proper track equipment, 2 starting gates, 2 tractors or other equipment to move the gate, distance markers, equine ambulances, lighting on the track, emergency track warning systems. We'll enforce the safety vest and protective helmets. My teaching material also has many of the best practices out there. I've already talked to a lot of vendors about the equipment and things like this and the track stuff that we're going to need, because I know most of them from my 20 years running the conference. We're very concerned about all stakeholders as well. If we grow the pie, it grows for all of us. Again, our application has greater detail on safety, rules, integrity, the amenities for stakeholders, ideas for growth. We've already contacted the major quality suppliers. I've got initial bids from them, and I told them all, look, if we win, I'm coming back to you, we're going to refine those and get serious. The stable area is so important in any racing operation. All the barns are located near the track for access to the training in the morning. And again, we'll work with you. We know you have to approve our final plans. I've already spoken with FCP and MD Barns. I've talked to Sanger Construction, Clearspan, Legacy Forest Cover Structures. We have a test barn in our application, receiving barn, conveniently located, by the way, near the parking and the stable gate for the horsemen. We have a holding barn, 24 stalls, which is important for safety and integrity. Again, I told you I don't mind copying good ideas, and there's a lot of good ideas around there. You know, we would have that for the safety and integrity. Why not install cameras? You know, one thing I have to give credit. When I was a teacher, I also kept myself educated, and I toured casino security behind the scenes. Their security really is tremendous. So having these gentlemen as a partner, you know, putting those cameras in places like that is going to make it even better than some of the top technologies we use. We've included, of course, the isolation/quarantine barn, and I will tell you all the truth all the time. I'm going to correct my friend Ken here, just so we don't get called out on that. We have over 1,100 stalls, not 1,400, just to be accurate. But that doesn't include the quarantine barn and the test barn. There's great details in our application on the specs of those barns. You know, look around the room and you'll see some of the things from our application. The stable area administration area is also important, and we have all the required parts of that, but we have some flexibility built into the square footage, okay, to work with people. We have an area for the chaplain. We have a horseman's relations area. We have a track kitchen. Obviously, we'll work with you on office space for the stewards and the racing commission. Facilities for the breeders, owners, jockeys, etc. Ken's already talked about the paddock and jockey quarters, which is detailed in our application. It has good viewing from the grandstand. We'll have parking near that paddock for the horsemen and jockeys. The second floor has areas for the horsemen, such as box seats and private areas. We have special party rooms up there on the second floor, which imagine, you know, we can put on a buffet, for instance, if we have that breeder's day, for the breeders of the horses in and for the owners of the horses in, and things like that. Again, we call the lineages, those of you that participated in that. We're looking, grooms quarters, we're looking for better alternatives and comfortable alternatives compared to tack rooms. We have over 128 beds in our application, and I'll be honest, we are currently looking at 2 options, portable versus built. And you know, it's lease versus buy. And we're in the process of analyzing that, those type of options. Gordon Gong has done a great job, again, addressing the rules in our application, making sure we have the proper things like water fountains and adequate restrooms. You'll see all that in our application. First aid rooms, 2 equipped ambulances, of course, for racing and training days, and all that goes with that, ADA compliant. You know, something a lot of fans don't see is that top level on the grandstand, or call it the racing officials area. You know, that's extremely important too, as far as integrity and safety. And we'll have the right proper communication systems, the track emergency warning systems, 2 photo finish devices, videotaping systems, the camera towers that are needed. Also the camera and timers at the starting gate. Dates must be a cooperative effort, and we know that. I know that's a tough issue in every state I've ever worked in, as well as every state I've followed and things like that. And we want to make a strong first impression. So I'd like to talk about that just for a little bit in the next couple slides. First impressions. I think you all know, again, the importance of first impressions. I'm not going to go too much into that, but we would rather grow racing dates than cut them. You know, again, McKinsey report, simulcasting. Their report said it's quality racing and stakes races and things like that that are growing. Once you get your signal into a track or a market, it's a lot easier to keep it there. Okay? So I'd rather start with a quality niche product first to get into markets rather than selling a mediocre product and being also rented. And let's start and get our foot in the door. Usually the hardest part is getting your signal out there. Once the people all take it, they continue to take the same tracks they usually take. And in our application, we've detailed our dates priorities. Again, we want to build up, not down. We put a few options in there. We have a traditional mixed meet, 9 weeks. We've also suggested what I call carnivals. We put festivals in the application, but I want to copy the Australian success, or possibly a straight meet, although I'll be honest, that's my least preference. Given the dates and the uncertainties that I saw in the May, commission hearings, or not hearings, but meetings about race dates and the uncertainties there, we thought it would be good to come with a couple options. We know we need the commission approval on that. A lot's changed since 2008 too, which I think is about the time you last looked at rate applications. In 2008, there were over 32,000 thoroughbred foals, and now there's under 20,000. Quarter horses, there was almost 136,000 foals, now there's 74,000. So we want to try to avoid overlap, obviously, but if we do have some overlap, we'd like to minimize it. But let me talk about that. Turf course is going to help with that some. Having the turf course, if there's any overlap, is certainly going to help us give it an option, something that we can exploit, if you would. If we work with the horsemen and they can work with us and they agree to some kind of starters fee, as I suggested, that's also going to help us with any overlap. And again, I think it's so important to have strong coordination in racing. My whole background, my upbringing was racing secretary. You can see that in my CV, and I'm so passionate about that, making sure we coordinate races, and that's going to be essential. We heard Commissioner McCall when she said, to the tracks come with options. We wanted to come with options. If I'm ever asked that, we will. If I'm ever asked that in the future. We also have a few other things in the application I'd like to just point out. Post times, especially on weekdays. We might suggest a twilight post time sometimes, and I'll tell you why, for 2 reasons. One, for the customers, a lot of people can't take off work half a day and come to the races. But if you have a happy hour as a promotion and it's twilight racing, maybe you can get them out there and then they stay for the rest of the card and enjoy the racing. The other reason is for the simulcast world. We call it a bridge signal. Let me explain. If we could try to sandwich in between the daytime cards and the nighttime cards, there's less competition. So if we can put a signal in there as some of the daytime cards are ending and get in there when there's less tracks, but before the nighttime signals start going, I think that's an opportunity. Another thing that we'd like to talk to horsemen about is some flexibility in scheduling our entry schedule. Again, to try to accommodate them. What if we could take entries further in advance? So I know there's some people that maybe stay all year in Albuquerque, just as an example. And, if they know what horses are in for several days, they could ship over 2 or 3 horses rather than go back and forth or only bring 1 horse. Just try to accommodate them. We'll have the receiving barn and everything that they could stay in. So those are just a few things. So putting it all together, we have a core racing team in place. We have the resources to build a full team and a racing facility that's geared to safety and integrity and growth and change. Don't be scared of that word. We're not going to be happy with the status quo. Growth is an imperative. We have lifetimes of racing experience. And again, with any growth, keep in mind, we all share. I'm I'm not going to go through that list again. We care about both the supply and the demand side of the business is important. You know, the turf course, I think, is an asset that we can exploit, bringing new ideas to the table. This company's great on customer service and training, and we're talking about customer service for everyone, supply side, demand side, and the employees. So as I kind of get ready to turn this over, I put a quote from Ben Franklin that you can read while I turn this over. But I hope that we have summarized important racing aspects. But surely in this short presentation, we haven't covered everything in our detailed application that we provided. I hope that application provides you more proof of our commitment, our passion, our competencies, and our desire for the long term of horse racing. So let me turn this over to Skip to talk about some more exciting aspects of our application.
Thank you, Doug. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, staff. My name is Skip Sayer. I'm the Chief of Sales and Marketing for Laguna Development Corporation and a member of the business development team for L&M Entertainment's Curry Downs Racetrack and Casino. I have the pleasure of sharing with you today a little bit about a quick overview of the gaming operation, our restaurants, and our plans for entertainment. We currently operate about 2,500 slot machines in our LDC facilities in Albuquerque. This means we've created excellent relationships with some of the largest slot manufacturers in the world. It also means we have access, in many cases exclusive New Mexico access, to the latest, most popular games that are available today. We take great pride in making sure we always have the newest, most popular products available on the casino floor. And that would certainly be our intention at Curry Downs. We currently employ the Aristocrat slot tracking system, which provides the guest with a seamless experience every time they play. It provides the opportunity for us to understand what games our guests like the most, and to reward them for their play with promotional items like free play, food coupons, or show tickets, whatever it might be. Of course, we truly understand that our casino operation is only one aspect of this particular business, and we need to insist on seamless integration of the gaming experience with our racing operations, our restaurants, and our entertainment. Our focus is on a quality guest experience in whatever part of our business they choose to enjoy. You've heard today a lot about the decades of experience our team has in the gaming industry, as well as the racing industry, and we would certainly use all of that talent to present the most action-packed, exciting casino experience available anywhere. We take great pride in our employee training programs. For example, all new employees will undergo a 2-day orientation prior to going to work. Our company culture is based on excellent customer service. To ensure we retain the best employees, those positions will enjoy a generous compensation package that includes benefits like healthcare, 401k accounts, and an ongoing training program. In our current operation, we maintain a disciplined and stringent responsible gaming program. It exceeds the requirements of the state gaming regulators. Ladies and gentlemen, we have no interest in business from problem or compulsive gamblers. It's simply not a healthy business model. We offer casino gaming as a form of entertainment that millions of people enjoy responsibly across the country every single day. Our employees are trained to identify problem gamblers, and we do provide those folks a variety of options if they want help. We build our business on loyal guests who have an enjoyable and stress-free experience whenever they visit one of our casinos. And if you've seen our casinos at Route 66 or Dancing Eagle, you have a good idea of how we present an exciting, bright, clean, and enjoyable casino experience. Our stellar reputation for the best food and beverage in the highly competitive Albuquerque market is because we have a singular focus on quality, service, and value. Quality in the fresh food we serve and source from New Mexico and our plaza. I've talked about excellent customer service, and we price our food and drink to create a high perception of value in the minds of our guests. We plan to bring two of New Mexico's most iconic restaurants to Curry Downs. These are established brands with excellent reputations. Our clubhouse, Doug touched on just a few minutes ago, includes an impressive meeting and catering facility that will allow us to accommodate meetings and special events. I mentioned Thunder Road Steakhouse and Cantina. That restaurant opened at Route 66 back in 2010. It's enjoyed 8 years of success that continues today. As a multi-purpose facility, Thunder Road serves steaks and seafood and New Mexico food. It has a circular bar, as you see in the photo, that surrounds an entertainment stage. And we plan to feature live entertainment there every weekend. The world-famous Laguna Burger restaurant opened in Albuquerque this past December, with several highway locations operating since 2006. The Laguna Burger has simply been a sensation. When the restaurant opened the first week in December, and you can see news accounts, there were literally lines out the door and down the sidewalk for the first several weeks that we were open. The Laguna Burger has built almost a cult following all on its own. And it's been named New Mexico's best green chili cheeseburger several times. It will be a featured attraction at the Curry Downs grab and go or snack bar facility that we have planned. By bringing these two highly successful brands to Curry Downs, we immediately establish a very popular foundation for our food and beverage offerings. These are both concepts and operations we started from scratch, and it's clearly evidence of our ability to build tremendously successful businesses from the ground up. Ken mentioned marketing. I'm a marketing guy, so I'm going to talk about marketing just for a minute. Our ability to market a variety of businesses simultaneously is critical to our success. We have the resources and strategic commitment to marketing to ensure we generate strong visitation from the very first day of operation. And we work with operations to ensure when we generate a visit, the experience they have will bring them back again. We will offer advertising and promotional support to our racetrack, our casino, our restaurants, and to our shows. We will focus significant advertising and promotional dollars on both Amarillo and Lubbock, Texas, as well as local media outlets. As with any successful high-volume business, we are accomplished at building a robust database of customers who enjoy racing, gaming, dining out, or entertainment. This allows us to build relationships with those customers and provides them with promotional discounts and other offers. We have an incredible menu of marketing tools at our disposal, including advertising, public relations, community relations, database marketing, online, social media, promotions, and special events. And anyone here in the audience that has not had a chance to take a closer look at this project can go to currydowns.com, where we've maintained this website since 2015. Since we've talked to folks, began coming down here in 2014 and talked to folks all over Clovis and Curry County over the last few years, and people have a great affinity for live entertainment and the reputation that Clovis has for popular music. We've been constantly reminded of that. And that's why we came to the very easy conclusion that live entertainment will be a critical component of our offerings at Curry Downs. Laguna Development Corporation currently offers the most live entertainment of any gaming facility in New Mexico. At Route 66, we present 25 to 30 headliner shows in our 2,800-seat Legends Theater every year. Our years of experience and industry contacts means we have the ability to bring headliner entertainment to Curry Downs on a regular basis. It's entirely practical to take a touring act who's very concerned about cost related to routing and offer them a two-show deal that would include Albuquerque and Clovis. Our plans include construction of an outdoor stage at the racetrack for presentation not only of big-name entertainment, but for existing musical events here in Clovis, as well as special events and other promotions. At Thunder Road, we will feature regional and local bands on Friday and Saturday nights. Now I'd like to turn it back over to Kim, who is going to talk to you about the project's financing and the economic impacts. Thank you.
Thank you, Skip. Hello again. I want to talk to you all about some real numbers. I think we're one of the only applicants, one of the few applicants, maybe another one did, that actually put numbers into their proposal. From the innovation study, Innovation Group is one of the renowned groups that does market studies across the country. We talked about economic impacts, and we've heard a lot about that. What you see before you are real first-year operation numbers. So what that means is right now, our first year of operation, based on the numbers, and they're in your book with that study, our first year of operations, gaming and racing, our revenues will be just about $64 million. Our expenses will be about $30 million. The gaming fees and taxes to the state are about $15.5 million. The racing purse increase is about $12 million. And our financing costs here are our first year total financing costs. So you see sort of from a cash flow standpoint, then what the bottom line is for our joint venture company to create. What does this mean? This means incremental spending. And as we all know, that's one of the reasons that we have this act and we have this opportunity, and we have an opportunity for one more license in New Mexico. The studies you have seen and you have in your book from us, and you heard also this morning, 80%, because of where we are, 80% of that $64 million is going to be coming from outside of New Mexico. That means $51 million of new spending to eastern New Mexico. 51 million coming inside the state. 29 million, that's the first cycle of the economy. That $60 million is turning into expenses. 70% of that $30 million of expenses is going to be spent right here locally. That means another $23 million spent here in Clovis and Curry County. The incremental state revenue. Now, we believe that the facility here in Clovis will have one of the least impacts of any existing operations that there are. You heard yesterday about an operation that didn't have a facility within 175 miles. Well, that facility in Oklahoma did break ground. It's going to be open at the beginning of next year. So those numbers, unfortunately, really don't show the whole story. These we confirmed. You've seen some new numbers this morning to confirm these types of numbers for Clovis and the ability for it to bring new revenue to eastern New Mexico. The horseman's revenue, we believe most of that is also incremental horse purse revenue. It will help grow this industry, which we think is very, very important. That's about $12 million. And again, I mentioned the financing costs that is spent here in order to make this business work. So our total expenses of almost $63 million, the majority of that is returning here and returning again here in New Mexico. And there's about a little over $1 million in cash flow left that will be going to a New Mexico company. I mentioned earlier that we have millions of dollars and thousands of employees that we've employed here over the years since 1998. We're not a new company to this state. We are here right now, employing people and being a part of this economy. So who wins? Tourism. $51 million new dollars of tourism to eastern New Mexico. The community, it's right here, $23 million of new dollars to this community. The horse industry, $12 million new dollars to help with those expenses and help this make a vibrant and growing industry. The state, over $15 million new dollars to the state. And again, $1 million to the company that's right here. So the entire state of New Mexico wins. And again, these are actual numbers that are in your proposal. These are operating Pro forma numbers. It's not, now we'll get into the total economic impact numbers, which is what most people talked about in the last few presentations. So we shared with you what our operation is going to look like. In the first year of construction, $93 million is what the innovation study says we are going to bring to this economy. That's from financing and constructing the facility. An estimated $91 million every year after that. The positive contributions to the local employment and local business tax base, that's extremely important. So the huge boost to the economy right here in Clovis and Curry County will generate increases in hotel occupancy, room tax, and tourism. One of the reasons we didn't put into our project a hotel right now is we want to be a good community partner. We want to make sure that this business helps all ships rise. And then we'll see how things go and move from there. We have adequate space to do that. We have a pad already designed, and we have land surrounding us that we can expand to. Getting into some of the details, and you've heard some from some of the other economic experts and the other companies. We wanted to go through a few with you. The direct effect of that $91 million a year, again, $91 million every year once this facility is open. $66 million is direct. That's directly from our operation, spent in our operation. $20 million, approximately 19.3 of indirect effect. That's from the people who service them around the community and that facility. The induced effect is another $6 million. That means new hotel employees, new employees in the restaurants around town. That's what that number means. Job creation. You heard in our presentation, in our video, that we're planning on over 600 jobs. That includes full-time in construction. But when construction settles, we're going to have over 300 direct jobs on an ongoing basis. Another 117 jobs is what's expected on the indirect side of supplying our facilities and the business we have. And in total, and there's a difference there, the difference is the induced. And the induced is the piece where we have a hotel that needs more people, where we have a restaurant that needs more people, where we have a supply company that needs more people. So a total impact from us of new jobs every year to this economy and this community is 476. So when we think about this, we think about what we're doing here and what we've tried to talk to you about. We brought in world-class people to make sure we do it right for the horse industry. We have a robust group of talented people and substantial companies backing this enterprise and this opportunity to make sure this happens. So we believe that in the community of Clovis, and this sixth racino license to be a winning combination for the state of New Mexico and for the industry. And so to wrap this up, coming around the home stretch, I'm going to give it off to Skip to let him wrap this up and tell you about some of our planned involvement with the community, and then wrap up. And hopefully, I'll be right and promise you that we don't exceed our 90 minutes.
No, we're confident we're not going to hit the 90. But first, let me tell you a little bit about our commitment to the community. When we talk about that, it really means the entire state of New Mexico. Our owners are 35th generation New Mexicans. And LDC has been in business now for 20 years. In fact, celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. Roots run deep here in New Mexico, and that's why over that time we've donated millions of dollars in cash, goods, and services throughout the state. We're one of the largest corporate contributors to both the University of New Mexico and New Mexico State University athletic departments. We maintain a keen focus on the connection for high school, elementary, and middle school students on the link between academics and athletics. We are major sponsors of the New Mexico Athletic Association that oversees high school sports, and we regularly contribute to foundations, organizations, and charities that seek to improve the lives of our citizens. As been mentioned a few times today, we've been down here in Clovis, creating relationships with the community and learning more about the people and the place. One of the first things we did is become members of the Clovis-Curry County Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Clovis Industrial Development Corporation. As part of our plans, we've offered to make meeting space in the Curry Downs Clubhouse available for local groups and organizations, of course, at no charge. And we've committed to building a new barn at the Curry County Fairgrounds. If we are fortunate enough to be granted the license, we will form a donations board that will include members of the local community to help us make decisions about our charitable contributions. And more immediately, in making those kinds of commitments right now, if you go outside after today's event, you'll find some nice community picnic food out there. When we heard that the advocates for this project coming to Clovis were going to do a community barbecue or picnic during or after this event, we offered to help. As a result of that, we tracked down a significant amount of equipment, people, and some hamburgers and hot dogs to make that happen for you today. So we were very honored and grateful that the community allowed us to come in and offer a hand. Also later this month, Curry Downs Racetrack and Casino will be one of the 3 major corporate sponsors of the Chamber of Commerce's Rocktoberfest event, which is coming up here at the Civic Center on October 25th. We believe companies have a responsibility to the communities in which they do business. We always have, and we always will. This project will be done on time, on budget. Our financing is in place. It's a state-of-the-art racetrack and racing facility. It'll offer the latest casino products and technology, award-winning food and beverage. It'll be a major destination for live entertainment. In short, it is a fantastic opportunity for the community in New Mexico. We look at racing, we look at gaming, we look at food and beverage, we look at entertainment, and what it all comes down to is we're in the business of entertaining people.
Let's go racing!
What we talked to you about, Mr. Chairman, is simply extraordinary. We have the business experience, the financial resources, the talent, the expertise. Most importantly, everybody sitting over here with the L&M team are very successful people in their own right. That's because they have tremendous passion for what they do. And what that creates is a tremendous amount of commitment. Again, this isn't about what we might do, what we're thinking about doing, what we could do. This is all about what we will do. We are L&M Entertainment, we are Curry Downs Racetrack and Casino, and we thank you for your time and attention.
For your presentation today, very informative. And we will take a short 5-minute break and be back here at 3:55 for public comment.
At 3 minutes long. Because I guess I'm putting a timer on the screen.
One of your room on that side. It works, it works. Is that up here? Oh, that's taking shit out.
I told him that
An idea of how it's going to go.
we need to take out all these Easter eggs. Okay. Can everyone take their seat? We'll get started.
Thank everyone present here today. Our three applicants, Old House Resort, Sonic Bar, Track, Clovis Racetrack Casino, and Entertainment for Downs. I look forward to hearing from you each. Each speaker will be called up to speak for a limited 3 minutes. Please be respectful of this time. When you get up there, give us your name. And this time, fishing manager Laura Valencia will call you up. Pick your name to the recorder. First speaker.
Representative Randy Crowder.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for bringing your group to Clovis. We're very glad you're here. Welcome to District 64. This building and facility is located in District 64. All three casino sites are located in District 64, so we're glad you're here. I have very little experience with racing or casinos, racetracks, or casinos, and so I have kind of approached this task by calling my colleagues in the legislature and seeking counsel from them. I called ones that I knew on racehorses that carried racing legislation, or that they had a casino or casino in their district, and I began the process just trying to find out what they would do. I contacted first a good friend of mine from Roswell, that's a legislator, and I told her the racing commission, and that's about as far as I got. And I was told, we don't need another racetrack in New Mexico. And I got a 30-minute education. It was very passionate. It was quite loud at times. But I was told precisely the point of view of the owners, the trainers, the scheduling, the economic impact. I got a great lesson in about 35 minutes. A day or two later, I got another call from a horse owner. She's owned horses for 36 years, former commissioner on your body. She's still very active in preparing legislation for testing of racehorses and that sort of thing. She confirmed exactly what the representative said. We don't need another racetrack in New Mexico at this time. And she went on and she kind of focused on talking about the difficulties in getting a load of horses from where they're at up to Sunray and then back home. We've only got a 17-day schedule. And she talked a lot about the economics of the owners to try to do well from this process. Also, I believe yesterday, the day before yesterday, you received a letter from the New Mexico Horsemen Association. It says, and I'll quote, the New Mexico Horsemen Association is not in support of the commission granting a 6th racetrack license for New Mexico at this time. And so, two of my colleagues have told me we don't need a racetrack. The Horsemen Association has kind of confirmed that in their letter. It's a 2-page letter explaining all the reasons. I'll go read you a quick summary. Their final paragraph says, the New Mexico Horsemen Association feels that the economic feasibility and practicality of a 6th racetrack with a casino must be thoroughly evaluated before any decision can be made. I'll also tell you that, and I'm sure you're aware that the chairman was quoted in the Santa Fe paper yesterday. It came out this morning in regards to
let's go race it! Let's go race it!
It said, Mr. Willis said the Racing Commission has to decide whether a 6th track is feasible. The commission is in the process.
3 minutes is up. We have to give everyone the time.
Senator Stuart Eagle. Senator Ingle. Representative Candy Ezell.
Mr. Chairman, I'm asking for double time because I do talk slow, okay? Teasing. I'm Candy Spence Ezell. I'm a rancher, I'm a farmer, I'm a racehorse owner, and I'm not a politician. I have been elected to the House of Representatives many years ago, and if you don't know me, you should, because I've carried a lot of legislation for every one of you sitting up there, and it's all been good legislation to protect the horses who are athletes, to protect the jockeys, and to protect the voting public. And Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, a racino is exactly that. You can't have one without the other. And it seems like we have one track that does does want to become just a casino, and that's not going to be possible. I don't want to ever hear any talk about boutique racing. I really don't. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, we have passed good legislation to benefit the job that you do. And I do expect those statutes and to be followed and to be enforced. I don't want to make the front page news of newspapers on the East Coast, making us the laughing stock of the nation as far as racing goes. You have been exemplary and trying to get things under control. But Mr. Chairman, we do have a problem. In the presentations I've heard today, and I've missed Lordsburg and I have missed Tucumcari, but the needs of the horses should be first and foremost. And to me, that's of great importance right there. And I understand that it is a boon to the particular areas where these racinos are put in. We know the disparity between the racino taxes and the casino taxes, and what all it takes to put on a horse race. But Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, whenever I see the great overlap that we have over some racetracks impeding upon the race days of other racetracks, that does put a hurt on the horsemen and the horse owners themselves. And I love the sport and I want to see it succeed. So it seems to me like there will be a sixth track, but let's hold true to what the Horse Racing Act does entail. And I see I'm out of time. Thank y'all very much.
Mayor David Lansford.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I appreciate the opportunity to make some remarks. First, I want to make it clear that I'm not speaking on behalf of the Clovis City Commission. I'm speaking as an individual citizen of Clovis that happens to be the mayor. Originally, I wanted to remain neutral on this issue, and I tried my best to do so, but could not as time progressed. Because I could not ignore my values or my concerns for the vulnerable members of our community. So, how did I confirm what I was thinking and what I was feeling when it made it clear to me that I was not in favor of a racino in Clovis? I considered the four-way test that the Rotary Club has talked about and performed for years and years. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Does it build goodwill and better friendships? Is it beneficial to all concerned? I thought about the Hippocratic Oath that healthcare professionals are well aware of. The first order of business is not to do any harm. I thought about the approval of medications. Do the benefits, the potential benefits outweigh the potential risks? Unfortunately, it's hard for me to answer yes to any of those questions. And so I hate to say it, but I'm opposed to it. I don't think it would be beneficial to our community. I think the net effect after 3 or 4 years would be detrimental. I think initially it would probably be a boom, be a lot of excitement, and then I think that there would be social implications that would be difficult to manage for our community. If it wasn't for the gambling part of it with the slot machines, I would be for it. But the 800 slot machines creates the overall negative for me. There's no way to win against the armed one-handed bandit. And at any rate, I appreciate your time and consideration. Thank you.
Commissioner Bryan.
Thank you, Commissioner and members of the commission. My name is Chris Bryant. I'm a local business owner. I've been in business for a little over 40 years. My business has been here for 62. I'm also a city commissioner. Not tried, as the mayor has said, not trying to be neutral in the position of the city. I'm not a gambler. I've never been, I've never won. But I do not look down on those that do. That is their choice, and my position as an elected official, or a citizen for that matter, does not give me the right to tell others how to live their lives. On Tuesday of this week, up to today, I've received hundreds of emails in support of the casino. I have not received one in opposition. I firmly believe in economic development, job creation, and quality of life for all of our citizens. Bringing this to our community will provide this to all of our citizens. But most of all, I believe in what is best for not only our citizens, but also for the city of Clovis. I want to thank you, and I want to thank you for your consideration.
Good afternoon, Chairman Willis, commissioners, and staff members. I am Clovis City Commissioner Helen Casals. You are going to hear a lot of speakers for and against the Racino today. I am in favor of the Racino in Clovis. As a member of this community for most of my life, I know some of the challenges we face. A big one in the need for good jobs, jobs that are well paying. Having a Racino in Clovis will bring more jobs. And better paying jobs. To support their families and create stability in their homes. Clovis has proven that it can provide a qualified and consistent workforce, creating a good foundation for building a Racino here in Clovis. Clovis has proven it with our Southwest cheese plant, the largest cheddar cheese plant in the world. And with constant growth of Cannon Air Force Base. Our close proximity to Texas will establish Clovis and in turn New Mexico as an attractive destination and help boost the economy of the High Plains. Clovis is good for the Racino, and the Racino is good for Clovis. Commissioner Gary Elliott.
Thank you, Director, Chairman, members of the commission, and staff. I am Gary Elliott. I'm the commissioner here in the city of Clovis, and I voice my opposition to the proposed decision. We have 8 votes. Some of them are for, some of us are against. And I don't know that we can make really a real resolution or anything that would support it myself. But I received numerous calls. There's hundreds of people here that were behind me that came to show opposition to this also. And my understanding that, and like the mayor said, the racing part of it is it's not that bad. The casino part of it preys on people that really can't afford it, and it's not good. I'm afraid that we'll have drugs, which is some of the casinos, and I've talked to some of the people. We've got foreclosures, possessions, gambling addictions, DWIs, and then we talk about our water situation. And I've heard today a couple of things about our water. Perry County, just south of Clovis, just about 3 or 4 miles, those folks carry water. They really need to have water to drink, shower, or to do water. Okay, we're looking at groundwater, which affects all of us. It's in the aquifer. We just passed a resolution, or part of our water situation that we have in Clovis. We just passed that last night at the commission meeting, where we could try to get water to some other areas. And if this depletes our aquifer much more, where would we be? Without water, there would be nothing. We do have reuse water. We're using it in Hillcrest Park now. It needs to go to Spencer Park, it's well on the northwest side of town. It needs to go to the golf course, which we have an 18-hole golf course. Also, it needs to go to the other city parks, the schools maybe. So that reused water is so valuable to just the city of Clovis. So we're really shortage of water is really a sad deal. I've thought about this a lot, and I've really studied. I woke up at night worried about it because I'm real concerned. I've got children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. And I woke up the other night and said, what am I going to say at the end of this deal? And there was an old acronym several years ago. It said WWJD. What would Jesus do? And that's how I'm going to go about that. Thank you for your time and for your time to look at this.
Commissioner Taylor Sawyer.
Well, good afternoon to each of you commissioners and chair. Thank you for being here in our great city. My name is Sandra Taylor Sawyer, and I have lived in Clovis for 57 years, coming up this Sunday. And I can tell you that to me, and you all look like very knowledgeable and intelligent and smart people, that having the Racino in Clovis is a no-brainer. It's economic development. And with that, if you are going to, there is no other location that I have seen that is going to bring in over 50% of new dollars to the state of New Mexico. To me, again, it's a no-brainer. And you all are smart and knowledgeable people, and so I know you will vote to have that Racino here in Clovis because it's the best thing economic development for the state of New Mexico. Thank you very much for your time.
Commissioner Wilbur. Thank you. Former Lieutenant Governor Walter Bradley.
Chairman, I have some handouts for you. Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, I'm Walter Bradley, former Lieutenant Governor of the state of New Mexico. I've been involved in this issue for quite some time. I also have hard copy petitions that have been distributed from around the city in opposition to this endeavor for this association. My involvement with while I was elected, I'm going to echo kind of the mayor's concern because it's my main concern, and that is the heartbreaking results, social ills, if you will, that come after the construction and the excitement and all of that. I have some personal issues with it, but we need to make it clear that it's got to get past the glitter of the lights, what's going on, and find out the consequences 3 to 5 years down the road. The study that I handed out to you is the latest study that's been done in 2013, and that particular study shows that there are about 3 different types of addiction to gambling that comes from slot machines. And slot machines are the number one addiction to gambling. And the 3 are range from 3% they're called pathological. These are people that don't have any control whatsoever. They spend every penny they got on them. And then another 15% they play weekly or more, and they're termed problem gamblers. And then there's another 15% who are at a moderate risk. This study was done on gamblers, by the way, not the contrary to the ones that have been presented by other parties. The study group was gamblers, not the general population. And if you use the general population, you get a much slimmer view. So this one shows the 3 to 30%, total of 30%, compared in 23 with the Council on Casinos, and it is before you. But if you took those numbers, and it's estimated by the applicants that about 30% of the incomes come from the local area, and if you take the 80,000 local area, 30%, you're going to have about 2,400 people with serious gambling issues. And the problem is that they don't want to tell anybody, and people, it kind of gets shoved under the street. If you look at the article from the Albuquerque Journal that I passed out to you, just read the very first few lines. It says, this was an investigative report. An Albuquerque judge writes hot checks. A PTA treasurer steals money from student candy sales. A priest makes use of church cards.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm Anna Crook. I've lived in this area for 60 years, and your faces have changed, and thank you for being here. I didn't come with prepared speeches this afternoon, but this is a wonderful community, and I served this community as a state representative for 20 years. And while I was there, and we, voted in gaming, and I'm really pro-business, and that's mainly where I'm coming from. I had people that, and they didn't know how you voted, but from the laundromats, they said, boy, you didn't do us any favor. Our business has really been impacted. Used car dealers came and they said, boy, you sure did hurt us when you. Restaurants came and they also told me, boy, I'll tell you what, you really did hurt our business when you voted in gaming. And I served this community, like I said, for 20 years, and it's a wonderful community, and I'm really pro-business. I really do appreciate what the small business community does for us. And so anything that impacts our business, when the previous Racino went into effect, I was a legislator at that time, and we went around and looked at all the facilities. And I had an individual that I'd gone to college with, and he said, Anna, do you think Clovis is too much of a Bible belt, for us to have a Racino? And I said, you ask me, I'm going to be really straightforward. Yes, I do. And many times we were referred to as the East Side Bible Belt, which I was not offended at all. I'd much rather be referred to as the East Side Bible Belt than the East Side Devil's Den. So I was not offended at all for that. I also had furniture stores tell me how much it impacted their business. And so for that reason, I am very pro-business. Anything that would hurt my small business community, I oppose Racino. And I do appreciate you coming and listening to us today. Thank you.
Representative Brett Johnson. So please be respectful of all of our speakers. Please, no comments other than the individual that is here at the front. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, welcome to Clovis. We thank you for considering this location. I am a recovering politician. I don't know why that whoever was that decided to order thought that what we had to say was more important than the public, but so be it. The things that you have to make a decision on are the economics of this project. I want you to know that Clovis is alive and we're well and we're growing and we'll make a great place for you to put this racino. Yeah! The feasibility study that they're about to do will show you that this Clovis has the best demographics and the best workforce. If 70 to 75% of the business comes from other parts of the country, this will be a boon to our community. I hope you'll pick the best company that will promote horse racing and create the greatest economic opportunity. It should be in Clovis. And you're going to hear, and you have heard, all the problems with gaming. Folks, gaming is already here. You can gamble at every convenience store. We have the terminals that you can gamble at. We've got bingo. Now we have internet gaming. But the difference is nobody comes here to play our slots. Nobody comes here to play our lottery. And nobody comes here to play bingo. Knowing you've had 5 long presentations, I'll close with this. There are many people here in Clovis who support you in this venture. And we are not the loud ones, but we support you. Please vote to put this racing on this community.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, members of the committee. Thank you so much for coming. We are so excited this day is here. You're in our community. We want to welcome you. Clovis is your place. This is it. We talk about our rich horse culture, and it reminds me of a story that my great-granddad, who homesteaded over about an hour away from here in West Texas, between Olton, Texas, and Plainview, he had a farm, and he traded it for a team of horses, a wagon, and a shotgun. Now that may not be the best monetary trade, but to him it was the best because he was a freight runner, and that was his livelihood, those horses. Therein started the culture, I believe, that's in our area, in eastern New Mexico and West Texas. Clovis is a horse country. We have team racing. We have team roping, actually. We have barrel racing. We have one of the largest horse sales in the country. This is your place. In 1974, I got my real estate license, and I think I was about 8 years old. And I started selling Clovis. One thing I learned is that the quality of life is a reason that a person moves to a community or they stay here. When I was elected mayor, we were just coming off the BRAC list and entered into the transition time, and quality of life was very important to our whole community. And we had much needed improvements to be done. We refied a parks bond and bought an 18-hole golf course and closed a 9-hole, which gave us a premier park with a splash park, dog park, walking trails, the youth recreation building, and about 600 to 800 kids play soccer. Now, we had naysayers through this, but it was the right thing to do. And I very much believe that when you're in a leadership position, you have tough decisions to make. But when you're dealt with the facts, and you look at the facts, and you're going to do what's best for the community, then and you make the decision for the right reason, then the right decision will be made. I wanted to bring up a point that was mentioned in Tucumcari yesterday. It concerns the water. I spent 8 years as chair of the Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority. And water we have issues, but we've solved those issues with reuse and with our conservation. I want to leave with one final thought, and that's the quote that I know you all know. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country, and let's put it in state. We will ask you one thing, bring it to Clovis. And this community is here for you. We are Clovis strong, we are Clovis proud, and we're home of the Fighting Wildcats, and we want you here. We have the housing, we have the dog course, we have the restaurants and hotels, we're ready for you. Thank you so much.
I have to get this up to normal level here. Commissioners, my name is Chad Leidy. I am a longtime resident, homeowner, and a second-generation owner of 2 local businesses that are both experiencing or celebrating, I should, over 50 years of operation in the city. A little of my background, I also own a 192-unit apartment complex as well as other residential commercial developments here in the city. Development and growth is my occupation and my passion. And I want to warmly welcome you to this community and tell you how excited I am about the prospect of a new racino being located in this It is my opinion that such a facility would help diversify our economy. It will provide new jobs. It will help stimulate our slumping real estate market, and it will give us a clean industry that will not adversely impact our water supply. The impact created by such a facility would be felt across all elements of our economy, from agriculture to retail. It would be greatly appreciated. In closing, I want you to know that I'm absolutely convinced that this area needs to welcome such a facility to this area with open arms. And I want you to know that I support and appreciate the opportunity that you folks bring to this community. Thank you very much.
Former Commissioner Tom Martin.
Chairman Willis, members of the commission, and staff. Finally, I get to welcome you to the city of Clovis. My name is Tom Martin, Clovis resident and business owner for nigh on 50 years. I'm a former city commissioner and past president of the Clovis-Curry County Chamber. Gail Brumfield, our former mayor, and I have followed you from Albuquerque to Ruidoso Downs, to Lordsburg, and to Tucumcari. Our citizens will show you today why Clovis should be the site of the last casino license for the state of New Mexico. You have seen and heard the 3 presentations, all of which exceed anything currently in the state. But more importantly, we'll hear from our citizens. Commissioners, you might sense there is some opposition. You will see their objective is to cause dissension, create discord, and cast doubt on your minds as to whether the casino will work in Clovis. I know it will. You well know the casino is bigger than Clovis. It's about horse racing in New Mexico. It's about tourism. It's about jobs. But more importantly, it's about tax revenue for the state. This group of vocal locals comprises a very small minority in our city. But you know the facts. You know who will be blowing smoke into those mirrors and who will not. As you saw this morning, the community support is overwhelming. Why did 3 separate entities choose Clovis over any other city in New Mexico? They did their market research, not because they live here. They chose the city that makes the most economic sense for them, which in turn makes the most economic sense for New Mexico. We know we have a great city with many resources, okay? And we have a horse culture second to none. We know how important it is to create jobs, tourism, and entertainment, but most importantly, to bring revenue to the state of New Mexico. This will help equalize our trade imbalance with Texas. Texas, pronounced with an accent, is taxes. We see this as a golden opportunity being offered on a silver platter for all concerned. A big win-win for the citizens of Clovis, the patrons traveling from Texas, the racing industry, and above all, the state of New Mexico and its citizens. Thank you for coming. Enjoy your visit. We hope to see you on opening day.
Former Commissioner Bobby Sample.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, staff. My name is Bobby Sandoval, and for 78 of my 82 years, I've been a resident of Clovis. I was gonna joke about the 3 years, say that they let me out on good behavior, but since this is a serious meeting, I'm not going to do that. I was blessed with the opportunity to serve my fellow taxpayers for a combined total of over 20 years. So I feel that I have some insight as to what my people want and what my people need. The most popular question, or the most question that I was asked while I was on the commission is, when are we going to get a target? And while I wasn't prepared to talk about the most popular question, I was prepared to talk about the second. But since we brought the target up, that might not seem pertinent to ask today. It might be that if we were to get this racino, Clovis would grow enough in order to get a target. The next most popular question I was asked is, why do we have to go to Lubbock or Amarillo for entertainment venue for us or our families? I've got a good friend who's a doctor in Dallas. Every time I see him, he says, when are you going to get a Chuck E. Cheese? I have to go to Amarillo to take my kids to Chuck E. Cheese. So regardless of how people feel about racino here tonight, I'm sure that everybody would welcome a Chuck E. Cheese and Target. Commissioners, I know the huge charge has been placed on you. This charge is not really about what Clovis feels for or against a racino, although we're very grateful to you that you are listening to our problems. Your charge is to recommend what you feel is in the best interest of the state of New Mexico. We're reasonably sure that Clovis would produce more revenue for the state of New Mexico than any other entity that is trying this casino, this racino. And real quick, just a quick word about the evils of drinking and gambling. While some of the stuff that you're going to hear today or have heard today might be true, there's no question that a lot of it is overstated. There is no crime wave in Farmington, New Mexico, regardless of what you will hear today. And if this was true, Rio del Sur and Hogs would be slum cities, which they are now. And they do not want to get rid of their casinos. Yeah. So thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Gail Tarson. I am a local business owner, small business owner. I'm also the current chamber president. Welcome to Clovis, and it's quite an honor to have you guys here today considering this racing casino license. I would be quite redundant in what I have to share. So many have spoken eloquently as to my feelings. I definitely support the racino. I definitely see it as a huge opportunity, not only for Clovis and our community, but for the state of New Mexico. We have been bleeding revenues to Texas for years. Folks going over there looking for this type of entertainment, fun things to do. This would just be one big step for folks to stay here, as well as draw in folks from other areas. The tourism is going to be phenomenal. What I know, your decision, the right decision, Gail is right, is Clovis, New Mexico. But I moved here 9 years ago, and what I know about this community, even those opposed, those for this, at the end of the day, when you award this license to Clovis, New Mexico, this community will come together and they will do what is in the best interest of this community, this state, and its residents. So with that, I appreciate so much your consideration for this, and have a good time, guys, and vote yes.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Welcome to Clovis. I hope you enjoy Clovis and learn to love it as much as I do. I love not only they introduced me as the past president of the chamber, but I am currently the president of the CPAR, which is Clovis Portalis Association of Realtors. Our job, thank you, would all the realtors in the audience, would you please stand or wave? Everybody. These are the lovely people that I serve, and I will say the majority of us are for, because of the economic impact that it will make on our community. And I think it's a wonderful thing with us. In particular, Mexico charges gross receipts tax on our services, so that is some money that will be raised as we have new people coming into the community buying houses, and those that are wanting to sell. And that's our job. It's kind of like a marriage. So everybody you saw stand or wave are kind of like wedding planners. And so our job is to help buyers and sellers come together. And we love this community. We serve this community. I know you are working with many of our realtors in buying the property as well, that you will have this racino on a personal note. I love being a Christian as well as a community civic leader. I loved hearing about the chaplaincy, and I would love to be one of your first volunteers to help with that. Y'all bring that here, and I know there's so many others that will do the same. I grew up going to Redosa Downs as a little girl, as a family thing, and that was pre-casino involvement. But the thought of having that here for me and my family to enjoy. We are also horse people. I love horses. I love people that love horses. And I love people of this community, and we just wish the very, very best. And welcome to Clovis. I'll be the first. I'm already going to assume that you're going to vote yes, and it's going to be Clovis. So welcome to Clovis.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Cannon Air Force Base. I'm Rick Masters, Director of Staff for the 27th Special Operations Wing in Cannon, and I am representing Colonel Stuart Hammond, who is Base Commander. Recently, we've become aware of some confusion within our community as to the official position of Cannon Air Force Base with regard to postal reporting. This confusion has resulted in a potential mischaracterization of Cannon Air Force Base's actual position. The formal and official position of Cannon Air Force Base is we take no position on this matter. As a federal agency, we are prevented by law and policy from offering any support for or opposition against any non-federal private entity or business, which this clearly is. If you are presented with any position or opinion from any source that attributes or infers a position for Cannon Air Force Base that is either for or against, I would ask that you completely discount that input and give it no weight in your deliberations or decision. Again, the official position of Cannon Air Force Base is completely neutral on this matter. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity.
Mr. Chairman and the staff and committee, thank you for coming to Clovis. I am a former city commissioner, and I was born and raised here in Clovis, New Mexico, and my family had a business here since 1917. And the reason I live here, if I didn't live here, I'd move here. And the reason I live here is because of the people. We experienced a tornado several years ago, and the community, just every man and child, came out to support our community. And the BRAC, the same way. We are a family here in Clovis, New Mexico. And I've served on several boards, whether it be the commission, the hospital board, or the chamber board. And one of the things that's in common that we hear over and over is the bleeding to West Texas. when the lottery, before New Mexico had a lottery, Farmville, Texas, this little convenience store had more, it was one of the biggest lottery sellers in the state of Texas. And we're just always giving our money for whatever reason. We go over to the shop in West Texas, and we go for medical. And this will stop a lot of the bleeding. It's time for some of that Texas money to come back to New Mexico. Our casino, I think, will provide entertainment, quality of life, and so many other things that will be beneficial to our community. I will tell you that I have a lot of people and friends from Cannon that when they were coming into town, a former pastor, chaplain out of Cannon, his wife said on the way into town, when they first got here, he says, "What did you get us into? You know, why are we coming to Clovis, New Mexico?" And they lived here for years and years. And if you wear out a pair of shoes in Clovis, New Mexico, you'll stay here for life. And that's the only caution I'll give the commission is don't stay here too long, you'll move here. But I appreciate your consideration, and we would love to have the casino here. And like I said, the people will support it. We get behind anything that we call our own.
Good afternoon. My name is Ed Pierce, and we're glad to have you here today. More than 76 years ago, my family began to suffer because of gambling. I had a great uncle named Ralph Wynn, and he put our family through a lot of difficulty. His wife, Clara Wynn, worked long and hard to try to recover, but never quite made it. She worked at the Leonard's department store downtown Fort Worth. Ralph was brilliant man. He was a comptroller for a large corporation. During lunch hour, men came and started playing cards, and they targeted Ralph, being the comptroller. He began to win, in fact, win several $1,000s. But then they began to, after they got him hooked, they began to take the money away. He believed that he could always win, and he lost all of the money that he had won. He lost his savings, his retirement, his house, he sold his car, and then he began to embezzle money. And he spent about 30 years in prison because of that action. As I think about Clara Wynn, she died without a penny to her name. And the consequence and the suffering that my family had suffered is incredible. Without the immediate support of my wife and I, my immediate family, Clara would have had no one. I've been in ministry for 47 years as a pastor and missionary. Over the years, I've ministered to dozens of families that have an addiction to gambling. I've seen babies malnourished. I've seen families that have just been devastated by this issue. I'm now the leader of Southern Baptist in our area in New Mexico. 10 churches in Clovis and 8 in Portales and in all the surrounding area. There are 40 churches in all that gather together, and there are 10,093 members in those 40 churches. We've always made a decision as a Baptist entity to minister to the needy. And we see this as something that would be devastating to families, and we would ask you to consider.
Walter Bradley. Megan Muse. Jack Muse.
Good afternoon, I am Megan Muse. I'm a nobody, I'm elected. I am a local, as concerned. But I'll tell you who I am after hearing other people. The inevitable collateral damage done by gambling. I'm the product of a father that was a habitual gambler. It was La Mesa Park. I grew up with that racetrack. I loved watching horses run, don't get me wrong. My dad had a lot of horses. He spent a lot of money on them. And he put a lot of money on those ticket machines. And then he went to other forms of gambling. And he ended up losing over half of our family ranch. We had to sell it to get us out of debt and secure the rest of it. And he died basically penniless. People here in this community don't understand that there is going to be a percentage, and the gambling industry makes that very clear, that there's a percentage of people who gamble who become habitual, pathological gamblers. They cannot help themselves. And these people out here have not been told about the downside of gambling. I love horse racing. I admit that always. But I watched my family. I watched things disintegrate. My father became abusive to my mother. Every time he'd come home broke, lost everything he had available to him. She was the recipient of that. I'm sorry for people. I want this community to prosper. I love this community. I want what's best for it. I don't want this here. It may come, but I'm one of those Southern Baptists that he talked about. We'll be here to minister to those people that are hurting. But I want these people in the audience to understand there's a lot of them that are going to be on that list because it's percentage. It may not be huge, but in our community, it's going to be hundreds of people, and each one of those are families and extended families and employers and creditors. It goes on and on and on. The people that are hurt when people are, now, everybody else is going to go out there and have a good time and go home and go to work the next day, and it's not a big issue. But when we have hundreds of people in our community that are devastated by what one family member cannot control, that breaks my heart. I don't want that for my community. I want them to have quality of life. I want them to have jobs. I want them to have all these things. Don't get me wrong. And I want their families to be whole and see hard things coming. But we'll be there for them if you choose just to bring it in here. We love our community. Thank you.
Jack Muse.
I guess it was done alphabetically or something. Commissioner, Chairman, we appreciate you being here and the time that you've given us. I have been amazed today that in all the presentations, there was almost no mention of the collateral damage and human damage that the gambling and the casino cause. The studies from across the country really have studied the growth rate of casino towns versus non-casino towns. Those before and after the casinos came is very indicative that the growth rate in non-casino towns is double what it is in casino towns. I think this is going to be very devastating to our local economy. The sort of the average of what the casinos tell us they're going to take out of this community, the New Mexico side. Now, Texas, we just got into New Mexico, is about $25 million a year. And I asked the question, where does that $25 million come from? Our economy doesn't become $25 million richer just because we have a casino. And as far as payroll is concerned, it looks to me like the casino only has to come up with 1 month's payroll. And then the losers because the slot machines will make their payroll. It's a redistribution of wealth. And I believe that the state legislation also mandates that they set aside a certain amount of money for the habitual gamblers and problem gamblers. And so that has acknowledged that there is a problem there. And when you look at the statistics, some people argue 1%, some people say 3%. Laguna said 3% when they did their presentation. And a lot of the studies show 7, 8. And then when you put the whole package together, maybe 15%. 7% is about 3,500 people in our trade area. That's a huge total. It's a huge price to pay. And so I would ask you to consider that and consider the human toll for a few dollars. And I would like the people that are opposed to it are here, also with red, white, and blue. Could we get them to stand so that you know who the people are that are opposed? That's more than a few. Thank you very much for your time.
Go right there!
Thank you for your time, and hope you consider the human collateral damage. Thank you.
Mary Cole.
Good afternoon, my name is Larry Cullen. I'm a resident for 22 years in Clovis, been a developer, international developer, and a local developer. I've enhanced over 35 businesses in the city of Clovis. I also do international work. I guess the commission would know of the 5 communities that already have a racetrack. How many would give it up? You know what the economic values are. We need and want the economic values. I don't participate with the gambling, I don't participate with the horses, but I do participate in economic development. Some of the people that are talking are some of the same people that didn't want Walmart to expand. They fought the store of Lowe's because they thought it would interfere with some more businesses. Look what's happening. We're on a rampage of building hotels. I run a lot of businesses in this town. I deal with a lot of people that come to this town. And some of the stuff that Bobby said, we deal with the military quite a bit. We got a group of people here, and not one person in this room that has ever talked to a military person. That their comment has been, what do you do in Clovis? What is the biggest heartbeat the military enlistees? What do you do in Clovis? It's heart-wrenching to see these young guys and women come to town and they have nothing to do. They sit up in their barracks, they sit in their houses. If this development with golf courses and water parks and all that kind of stuff, at least it gives them some diversion to do something. They gamble, fine if they don't. But I dare say that one of the 5 communities that you already have tracks at would give it up in a heartbeat. We want economic development. I thrive economic development. It's my passion, like Chad Leidick, him and I work together quite a bit. I've got a list of national entities that want to come here as soon as this particular thing is approved, which I hope that you do approve it for Clovis. I have no preference on which company, but please select our community.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us here, Mr. Chairman and members. Welcome to Clovis, New Mexico. I'm not from here. I'm from a little big place called Grady, right outside of here. I am a retired teacher. I grew up at the racetrack. We lived at Mesa Park in Radcombe during the summers. I'm probably one of the few people in this room that can say they know racing. I lived in Albuquerque. I lived in Cinnamon Park. I lived in San Jose. I watched. I don't need to talk to y'all. I love you guys. I'm talking about the casino. I was just in Albuquerque at the horse races for the Casey Darnell maturity. $70,000 added, only had 7 horses. The full day, all day Saturday, we rarely saw a race with over 10 horses. I can't say that Clovis would be the place that would bring in big horses. I can't say that this would be the place that would bring in big jockeys. I don't think Casey Lambert would come here. I don't think that Cliff Darnell would come here. I don't think the big jockeys would come here. I don't think they would haul their horses here. The 3 months they have selected to race are some of the worst windy months of the year. You're going to build a water park, I hope it's going to be indoors. What I'm talking to are the people who own hotels, restaurants, think they're going to sell houses, and think that they're going to make money off of these people because they live in fifth wheels. So if you're planning on building an RV park, then you're going to make a lot of money if this comes here. Because it's not going to make money here. They will run from Lubbock over here to watch a few races and they'll run back. So the hotels, it's not going to make you any money. I know races. I've lived behind the track. I was one of Cliff Darnell's stewards that rode horses for him in the morning. This isn't going to make money here, Clovis. This isn't going to do anything, but I've watched kids go into foster care over the casinos. I've watched kids left in snowstorms, in cars, because of the casinos. I've watched kids, I've watched mothers go into battered housing. If we plan on building more of those, then I guess it's going to be a good deal for those people that work in those jobs. The casino is the bad part, not the horse racing. I love horse racing. I'll go to a horse race any day. I grew up doing that. Let's not have any more suicide because we've lost a farm. Because my neighbors did that, and I don't want that happening here. Thank you.
Councilor Elliott.
Good afternoon. Thank you to all you commissioners who have trekked across New Mexico to hear all the proposals that have been prepared. Hearing all the possibilities makes it an exciting time for Clovis, and yes, for Lordsburg and for Tucumcari. But I'm from Clovis, so I'm partial. I deeply believe that Clovis is the best location for the best economic return to the state of New Mexico. My reason is because the people who live here rally in force to make things happen. You saw that this morning at the parade, you saw it this afternoon. If you've eaten at Subway lately, you've probably had cheese on your sandwich that originated here in Clovis, New Mexico. One of our prides in this town is Southwest cheese. When that operation was in its planning stages, people asked if Clovis could supply the labor force needed to make the plant successful. The answer was yes. Not only did the industry do well, but it surpassed our wildest dreams and is now expanded for the 3rd time with 450 employees. Yes, people migrate to Clovis for job opportunities. This town is now home to the largest cheese plant in the world.
Yeah.
In 2005, Cannon Air Force Base was placed on the Pentagon's BRAC list. Clovis citizens united and showed the commissioners our huge can-do spirit. Collectively, we changed the mind of the Pentagon Yes, Clovis is a candy town. We want to grow and adapt to new frontiers. We have passion, we have life, we have vitality, and we also have 90% of people polled who are in favor of your track and casino. This poll was done by my company. We went to Walmart parking lot, gas stations, senior citizen lunch centers, restaurants all around town to get a broad demographic of people to answer one question. Do you think a horse track and casino, AKA Racino, would be good for the Clovis economy? 90% circled yes. Clovis not only is in favor of the track, it also makes the best fiscal sense for our state. We are your can-do town. See what Clovis can do for New Mexico.
Good morning. I'm pleased to be here, and I hope you are too. I want to address a couple of things that have been addressed prior to me coming here. We can't poo-poo the effect of gambling and the addictive process that occurs. That doesn't say that everybody that goes to the track is a bad person. That doesn't say that everybody that gambles is a bad person, or drinks, or anything else. I'm not making judgments. I'm a chiropractor. I've been a chiropractor for 42 years. I also have been involved with addictions for the past 30 years. I'm board certified in addictionology. So I've lived with these guys, and I see these guys. We have some tremendous problems associated with them. And I think part of what would make this easier to absorb, to eat with the track, is if that we could maybe hold the track or the gambling professionals to a standard where they would stand up and take responsibility for the addicts that they provide to us. As society, you and I, we take care of them because the casinos don't take care of them. They do a thing called, we'll do some public education and they shoot a little thing out on the airways. But what treatment do they give to them? It's almost untreated. So I got a dog in this fight. If you do this, you bring this in here, I guarantee you that my business will prosper. I don't want to prosper that way. I like to see that all go away. I'd rather work on a smoker or a drinker. Addiction to gambling is tough, and we can't minimize the effect that it has. One of the bullets on the point of the compulsive gambling council guidelines said, the council shall collaborate with the department to improve data collection regarding gambling-related suicide, bankruptcy, and domestic violence. Also, in this code, we need to find a way to address those suicides. They happen. They're not the majority, but they do happen. And not every one of those deaths, every one of those loss of farms or whatever it is serious. And you can shout and hoot and holler, but you'll still be wrong. We still have to address this issue. The police chief is already, he's anticipating this, and so they're gearing up for the increased crime that will be here. It's not going to be a crime rate, but there's going to be increased crime. It happens with every single place. You go over to Albuquerque, there's increased crime there. There's places in Albuquerque that the cops don't want to go. It's not only because of the casino, but because
Thank you, sir. Can you please state your name for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Dr. Ken Lindsay, Lindsey, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Mike Hamilton. Mike Hamilton. Jan Hamilton. Jan Hamilton. Jeff True.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Jeff True. I'm with Redosa Downs Racetrack and Casino. Understanding that you probably know where we stand, I thought it important that Redosa read its position on the record. Before I begin, I'd like to say congratulations to the city of Clovis.
Thank you.
Having three of the nominees or applicants choose Clovis, I think is a strong move for Clovis, and I've never seen in 30 years of racing this kind of support here in Tucumcari yesterday. Despite that, however, All-American Redosa Downs Racing LLC, owners of Redosa Downs, are adamantly and completely opposed to an additional license in the state of New Mexico. Simply stated, another racing license in the state will cause those tracks currently operating to suffer financial and operational losses disproportionate to the gains made by any new racino licensees or the state through further dilution of horses, customer markets, and resources required to run a successful meeting. The simple fact that New Mexico already has dozens of overlapping race dates, simultaneously operating tracks, horse shortages at every race meeting, a lack of qualified personal care for horses in training, a shortage of adequate staff for the live racing now being conducted, and an increasing lack of funds for adequate drug testing should be plenty of evidence that New Mexico racing is fully saturated. The last 12 to 24 months have shown signs of economic improvement in New Mexico and the U.S. Yet an additional licensee will eliminate the opportunity to realize those gains in horse population or gaming market share, further diluting the state. The sixth racing and gaming license will negate those short-term gains and create greater losses in the future. The suggestion that a sixth racetrack in some remote corner of the state will not affect the remaining 5 licensees is false. Redosa Downs conducted customer research in July and August of this past summer, and 54% of our racing fans come from Texas. Given that Redosa is the highest grossing live attendance and live handle racetrack in the state, more so than the combined totals of Sunland Park and Albuquerque, is evidence that we have a lot at stake. Putting a racetrack in Tucumcari or Clovis or Lordsburg will negatively impact us, but particularly Clovis will impact us. We've all heard the 3 applicants talk about all their people come from Lubbock. Well, they're already coming to Ruidoso. Anything that stops here in Clovis is a detriment to Ruidoso, so we oppose it. Thanks.
Beverly Whittington.
Thank you for listening. My name is Beverly Whittington, and our family lives in Clovis. Our horse racing industry needs the 6th and final race to be a success. The state of New Mexico needs it to be a success. Clovis is not the place where that can happen. Clovis is not on an interstate and diverting Texas visitors with our hogs and Ruidoso. Our visitor center at the state line here closed several years ago due to lack of use. In 2005, when Cannon Air Force Base was shuttered, we were faced with losing our livelihoods, our identity, our future here. Clovis came together, lobbied, worked, and strengthened our bond to regain Cannon Air Force Base. Now it's bigger and stronger with a new focus and vital mission. But there's another round of brag closings likely. We cannot lose our focus on Cannon Air Force Base. And we have to protect our water supply while the Ute Lake Water Project is underway. Clovis learned a valuable lesson with the costly disaster of a cosmetics factory that never was. Things that sound too good to be true usually are. The cost to taxpayers was $1.8 million. It's been said that Hobbs doesn't have a problem with security at the racino, so Clovis would be likewise. This is not true. Hobbs Police Department is staffed for 110 officers. Clovis has 44 officers working out of 64 positions. In Hobbs, starting pay is $62,000 for a certified officer. In Clovis, it is under $34,000. And the population of Hobbs is less than Clovis. Did you know that trains run through Clovis 90 times a day and blow their horns each and every time? 10 years ago, a friend of ours named Sam Robertson was in Clovis for business. He stayed at a motel on Makery Drive. When he checked out the next morning, the clerk asked him, "How was your stay? How did you sleep?" And he responded, "Thank you very much, not at all." The railroad tracks at the highway block the road for 7 to 10 minutes at a time. A racino would be direct competition to private venues already here, like Red Arrow, which has 20 slot machines and hosts bingo games for MAP 25 and White House Mission. Last year, it made over $200,000 to support their mission for the homeless and poor. The taxpayer-supported Clovis Civic Center and Curry County Event Center would be damaged. Last year, the Event Center lost $130,000. This Civic Center lost $320,000. The last license must be located where it will succeed. That is not Clovis.
Denise Schaefer. Denise Schaefer. DeWall Janelle.
Good evening to the chairman and the commissioners of the Racing Commission, New Mexico Racing Commission, and good evening to all the citizens of Clovis. I moved from New York in 2014 to Clovis, New Mexico, and I own 2 hotels in town, Comfort Inn and Super Inn. When I heard that the 6th license was coming up, I went to each and every hotel and I brought this up to them, and I got the letter of support signed by each hotel and sent it to the commission and as well as the Chamber of Commerce and everybody. I personally think that the Racino is the great idea for Clovis. Moving forward, I think, again, from the tourism purposes as well as the growth of the community, because I ended up also being called twice in a row, last year and this year, at the Chamber of Commerce, where there are conventions that are trying to come to Clovis but are short on the rooms. It would not only suffice the conventions coming into town, provide them the lodging, but also I think with the entertainment aspect with it would bring a lot more conventions to Clovis, New Mexico, which eventually I personally think would not just help us as a business owner, but all the other business owners as well in town, like restaurants or gas stations that would raise a lot of tax money for the state of New Mexico. So on behalf of all the hotel owners, I assume since they signed that paper, I can speak that we are for the Racino. I think this is the best community I've ever been in. I've been in New York, I've been in Dallas, and when this community comes together, you know, it's like an unstoppable force, you know. And I have friends who, or people who I know are opposing this Racino coming into town, but I know that as far as the economic development and betterment of Clovis, this is a great idea. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Sir, can you state your name for the record?
Yeah. My name is Dhaval Jaliwala. People call me Danny.
Steve Barrett.
Good evening. My name is Steve Eric, and I serve as the President and CEO of Economic Development Corporation of Lee County. Because there is no hearing in Hobbs or Reynosa, I'm here tonight to express our deep concern about this proposed sixth facility and its impact on Zia Park, Hobbs, Lee County, primarily because of duplication of some of the markets that are being targeted. For more than 10 years, Zia Park has been a leading employer and has been a significant contributor to our economic base. And also, because we're so dependent on oil and gas, really helped us diversify our economy. So it's an extremely important operation to us. We want to be extremely protective to it. Because of Zia Park's great importance to our community and Lee County's economy as well, we remain very concerned with the New Mexico Racing Commission's decision to continue the application proposal process for a sixth racing and corresponding casino license. As stated in our letter to you that we wrote back in July, we believe that very thorough economic analysis is required in order to accurately determine the effects that such an expansion is going to have on existing casinos and racetracks, such as in Hobbs and in Lee County. The fact that these studies did not take place prior to the submission of applications for the sixth license is very disconcerting to us. The Commission's own revenue reports show that the tax revenue and racing purses are down approximately 13% since 2015, so last 3 years down 13%. These numbers alone question the need to expand the gaming and racing footprint in New Mexico. And there are some red flags that we see in the applications that we've heard and are really concerned us. For instance, the Innovation Group shows that they expect 37% of gross gaming revenues will come from the Lubbock market. These are not new players. We have many people from Lubbock that already frequent Zia Park. The three top markets for Zia Park are southeastern New Mexico, Lubbock, and Midland. And two of these three top markets are going to be substantially affected by a new casino in Clovis. Should you ultimately decide to award a license, please understand that a new casino in Clovis will likely prove detrimental to our local economy, diversification, and the overall health of the racing industry, which is part of the Commission's mission. If the Commission strongly desires to add a new gaming and racing facility in New Mexico, consideration should be given to locating the facility in a location that would attract new racing fans and gaming players, rather than shifting current fans and players away from existing communities and facilities. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, I'm Hal Stratton. I represent Zia Park Racetrack, Casino, and Hotel and their parent company, Penn National Gaming. As I'm sure you know, Penn is the largest owner of racetracks in the United States. I've been at all the hearings with you, and I must say that they've been pretty short on the state of the gaming industry, or whether it's the horse racing industry. I'm going to take my 3 minutes and my 2.5 left and put some of that into the record. And I hope you have a way to get that information into the record. I don't see how to do it right now, but I know you'll consider that before you make your decision. First of all, gaming is down. Gaming is saturated in the state of New Mexico. And I do tribal gaming and I do casino gaming. In machine net wins in fiscal 2013 was $236 million. 2018, it's down to $230. The tax paid to the state, 2013, $61 million. And in 2018, it's down to $59 million. And finally, the money paid into the persons was $47 million in 2013 and $46 million. 47 million in 2013, 46 million in 2018. So you can see it's down. Tribal gaming is down 7% since 2012. And we got to remember, gaming is there to support the racing industry.
We have trouble. We go through it every year. We go through it, we do all, getting horses in races, getting enough horses in races, getting enough race days. And we fight about it. Well, maybe fighting's not the right word, but we discuss it very seriously every year amongst the tracks. That's not going to change. A new track isn't going to provide more horses. In fact, here's what's happened to the Mexico horses. Mare's bred down 67% since 2006. Foals, the foal crop is down 51% since 2007. And I have a lot of other numbers that I can read into you, but I'm going to talk about Lubbock because I only have a minute left. And Lubbock's important, we wouldn't be here except for Lubbock. And the most candid representation of any application about Lubbock was the 37% that Laguna mentioned. Those are not new gamers. Just because they built a new casino doesn't mean there's going to be more people running from Lubbock to game. The horsemen have sent a letter in and have told you about how they feel about it. The horsemen are now against it. The tracks and the horsemen don't often agree. This is one they agree on, and they specifically point out the Lubbock situation. Tucumcari did a pretty good job of that yesterday. And I can tell you that Udos is going to have problems too. It's going to hurt us more. It's going to hurt them. So please make sure that you take the state of the industry into account when you decide what to do on this. And I have to say that we have to agree with Mr. True's assessment of what it's going to do to the remaining of the tracks. Thank you.
Carolyn Spence.
Goodness, y'all must be tired. I'm so glad you came. Hope we can get this over quickly. I did want to say that I'm in Clovis since '97. So I come from the East Coast. I come from where racing is a big industry. I had a thoroughbred myself. I did not race them. He was too young and I didn't know how. My dad did the races, a lot. That was good. The other thing my dad did is that he was a salesman. He could sell icebreakers to Eskimos. Of course, they could probably use those. Anyway, I learned a lot from him about how to hear what people are saying. And a couple of things have been said tonight in all the presentations and stuff that I kind of wanted to comment on. First, I really deeply resent somebody questioning my motives about being opposed to the casino. I am not here to create dissension. I love Clovis. I love my industry. I'm a real estate broker. The real estate brokers can tell you that in none of the broker meetings have I stood up and caused a problem or even opposed the casino to them directly. I just know from being able to look, even as a broker and economically, at the fact we were in Bay St. Louis whenever they started the casinos there, that when you have something that's a metal bucket and your community just comes and puts money in it, I don't think that you should call that income. And that's exactly what happens when you've got slot machines. The racing industry be great. It does sound like you have problems with the racing industry. Since you can only even schedule it here for 3 months out of the year, that's kind of sad. But some of the other things that have been said here tonight, some of the buzzwords have been things like, when we have events, we're gonna price them so they're an extraordinary value. That means that you're gonna underprice every other venue in town so that you'll put the other venues out of business. That the seamless experience of a person coming to a casino and the way that that was worded means, quite frankly, that they're gonna track you. They're gonna know who you are. They're gonna know what you do. They're gonna know how to keep you in your seat till you put all your money in the bucket. And that is where the detrimental income, part comes from. The cheese plant is not a comparison. The cheese plant actually employs thousands of dairy workers that all put their money, effort into getting cheese. They sell it out of town. The money comes into Clovis. It's awesome. And then they have spare change. And that's exactly what the casinos are after. They're going to promise things they can't deliver. Promises are made by some of these CEOs. I want you guys to please consider what they can really deliver. And thank you very much.
I'm going to break the rest of it a little bit. We'll start.
Huh? Let's go home. At the house. It wasn't mine. Brian said yes. No, that was Elliot that said no. Brian said yes. South said yes. The mayor said no.
I'm glad.
The mayor didn't say it as the mayor. He said it as a private citizen, which is what he's supposed to do. So it's his choice. He doesn't have to represent the city in this case. He already did that this morning. Mayor was no, Elliott was no. Was heard. Fred left it nil. I didn't see when Juan left. Huh? starting to leave just because they want to go out and get free food. Zip over there for No, I don't care. But we've had, what, 6 or more that have been no-shows? Big shows. You see what I mean by Western School? See what I mean by Western School? Vomited on there? They wanted to put it up there before the last presentation. Just a little note. It wasn't up there for the first two, it's not going to be up there. We put it up for the public comment. Yes, bro.
Very.
Got a furry fluffy pillow. Got a tan cow pie. This stuffed horse. Some truck nuts. But it doesn't really show in my camera. You can kind of see it a little bit over here. Well, you can see a little bit of the top of the brown cow hide. Yeah, I guess they wanted to, they brought it up, they wanted to do it this morning or something like that. Like last week. Like, what? So they vomited all that in the Esperanza room when they had lunch. And then they brought it over after lunch and they were sitting up there on the stage. It's okay, I don't need to hear. You have a... Huh? No.
We're ready to get started. Everyone take a seat.
No. Well, why aren't you using your microphone? I don't know. 140 people signed up.
Commissioner Robert Gordon.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I appreciate your time. I appreciate the time that you spent going all over the place looking at this and the time that you spent here. And I appreciate all these people, whether they're for or against. This is a candidate that really believes, feels, and does things wholeheartedly. And I have concerns with the racing. It's really been stressed, the horse racing part of this, and that's not the reasoning behind the racing. The companies want the slot machines. They subsidize the horse racing through the slot machines. That type of thing is going to take the expendable income out of our community and take it to the state. It's something that we don't have the oil and those type of things like hogs and those places do, where there's other things that are offsetting that.
the damage that would be done to local businesses when you take all of the expendable income from the people that live here and do business here is going to damage those local businesses. And I've listened, I've got here late, I apologize for that also. But I've listened to the people from Lee County and Ruidoso and their concerns with taking more of their business. I don't think in this particular industry there's enough to go around. And personally, I would like to see you not do a sixth license in the state of New Mexico. I understand that you've been tasked with this project to find out if there's a place that it should go, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate your time, but I think that it would be a detriment to our overall economy. Thank you.
Ernie Haas. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Izzy, Rosemary, and the rest of your staff, it has been our pleasure to host you last night and today. And so you've been great to work with, and we're really pleased that you're here. So for the record, my name is Ernie Koss. I have been the executive director of the Clovis Curry County Chamber of Commerce for 24 years. The people of Clovis, as you can see, they're very excited about this and extremely passionate, as you saw this morning. And as you heard today, there are some people against the Racino. But here's what I know. At the end of the day, when it comes push to shove, this community will pull together. In my 2 decades in my position at the chamber, there have been many times where we as a community have overcome a variety of challenges. From last year's library shooting tragedy to the plane crash where members of our Cannon Air Force Base family were lost. As you heard earlier from many people, our big claim to fame is to what we did when we pulled together as a community to save Cannon Air Force Base. We had a parade that morning too. And as you well know, we recruited the largest cheddar cheese plant. Everybody said that. But how we did all of that is at the end of the day, we did pull together as a community. So as Kathy said earlier, we are a can-do community. We are very deeply rooted. We have a very deep-rooted legacy with horses. I just learned in the last week that our PRCA rodeo is up for nomination at the national level as the best small town rodeo in America. As somebody already said, we also host the largest horse sale from coast. People come from coast to coast to come here and trade horses. It's the largest horse sale in the country. My job that I love is promoting Clovis to prospective businesses, to visitors, to newcomers, tourists, and it is our job as Chamber of Commerce, like every other community, to welcome people to Clovis and Curry County. Nothing makes me happier than to stand here in front of you today to let you know that I believe that Clovis is the right place for the 6th license. Michael Kirby.
Thank you guys for being here and hearing our comments. My name is Michael Kirby, and I moved here over a year ago from Georgia. And I moved here because I want to see Clovis grow. And I want to say that I have lived in communities with racetracks and casinos, lottery, all sorts of different things, and I've seen the impact it's had. And so I want to stand here tonight and say that I'm against the casino because of the personal cost. You've heard a lot of the things already, and I just want to share with you. I've been a pastor for 20 years, and I've been in those communities for many years. And one of the things that I've seen that people don't see, I'm on the front lines. I deal with people who have problems. I deal with people who get pushed out through the casino system. And, there may be economic developments, and I'm not disputing that. But what I will tell you is I have seen firsthand the devastation that it causes to communities. And I made a commitment a lot of years ago when I accepted my call in ministry, and it was a call that Jesus gave me. Now, I know that doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, but it does to me. The call that I accepted and I committed to is that it is my responsibility as a follower of Jesus Christ to protect the least of these, whoever that may be. And what I have seen in every community that I've lived in that's had racetracks and casinos and all sorts of gambling is that this is an equal opportunity offender. It's every race, it's every creed, it's every socioeconomic group, it's every gender. It doesn't play favorites. And I have watched as families have disintegrated. And so my commitment is that I am going to be here, my church is going to be here to love and support those people who are going to be affected by this if it comes. We are not going to hold that against anyone. If the Racino comes here and they get their lives blown up and they need help, we will help them. I'm not against the people who want to bring it here. I want Clovis to grow. That's why I'm here. But I think that there are ways to grow Clovis that doesn't hurt people. And that's really, for me, the biggest thing. There is no dispute. The gaming industry herself says it hurts people. And me, in my understanding and my responsibility to Christ, I cannot stand for something that I know is going to hurt someone. And so it's my responsibility to stand here tonight to tell you that on behalf of our church, that if this does come and people are hurt, we will be on the front lines helping people. But we also want to say that it would be a great thing if you said no to Clovis. Thank you.
Alan Isbell. George Durkis. Don Lamptree. Sam Hoona. Lexi Myers.
Thank you guys for coming to Clovis. My name is Lexi Myers for the record. I did bring a piece of paper and I feel a little silly, but I will tell you right now, I know my job and I know my heart. I don't have to sit and read anything scripted, okay? I am Lexi Myers and I have a staffing company for the last 12 years here in Clovis, New Mexico. I will tell you right now, over the last 12 years, I averaged between 130 and 200 employees, depending on harvest season, large construction companies, or the holiday season. I will tell you right now, every time I need additional people, Clovis steps up to the plate for me. I am a very small entity in Clovis, but I will tell you again, there is a very, very positive labor pool in Clovis. I hope to tell you something you don't know, that the 30-mile radius outside or around Clovis, there is over 50,000 people between the ages of 18 and 64. In my business, I see that most of them are not from Clovis or Curry County, but outlying areas, and guess what? We are stealing a few back from Texas to come into New Mexico and work. The downside to that, and looking at the demographics, we are losing between 800 and 1,000 people from Clovis crossing the state line to go to work. But over the last 10 to 15 years with positive economic growth, we have gained 400 to 500 of those jobs back, keeping our precious resources to come back to Clovis and work. due to the large businesses coming in, the growth of Cannon Air Force Base, we are getting them back to Clovis and hopefully making an positive impact on our economic development there. And also, I would like to say that in trying to do the construction jobs, we can handle the construction jobs, but no, we don't have all of our trades here. But Cannon Air Force Base and the large companies like Southwest Cheese has brought in the construction sites and got it done. So we will have help from Albuquerque and El Paso that we have shown in the past that they will assist us in getting the job done timely with the quality of life that anybody comes in. Success is a favorable outcome. That is what the dictionary tells us. In my opinion, it's not always about money, but it's about the quality of life. It's about happiness and horses. Sorry, I have to put that. That's just how it is. But I want to tell you right now, if you will give it to Clovis, Clovis is ready, Clovis is willing, and Clovis is able to handle the 6th license and make it a success.
Jason Bennett.
Good evening, Commission. I didn't realize I was going to speak this evening, but I will let y'all know that I've been a long-time resident of Clovis. I've grown up here and been involved in the horse industry my whole life. Trained horses, ride horses, and continue to today. I am for the economic development here in Clovis. I think our community can handle it and the growth. As a community, I've seen our town come together time and time again. We may not always agree on things, but at the end of the day, we do come together and get things done. And I appreciate y'all taking your time to show up here and listen to what we've had to say. But I would appreciate it if y'all do consider Clovis and come back when we get opening day. Thank you.
Sir, can you state your name for the record?
Jason Bennett.
Thank you. Amber Wolfheiser.
Hello, thank you guys for coming. My name is Amber Werkheiser. I'm just a peon. I just wanted to also state that people, you hate to be redundant. We would, of course, yes, like to have a racino here. But I heard a lot of how there's going to be a lot of gambling addictions. Every day we walk out of our house, we are gambling. We are gambling with our lives. We gamble when we get in that car. We gamble when we go to work, when we go to church, when we go to eat, or anything. So I hope you don't hold that too much into accountability. And I would like to state to everybody that is for the racino, they didn't get to rise earlier, and I think they should rise and be noticed as well. So everybody for the racino, please rise and make some noise.
He's already gone.
Dorothy McGibbon.
Okay, I'm a little nervous, but I'll get through it. My name is Dorothy McKeevan. First of all, thank y'all for being here. Clovis needs this. I've heard a lot today about gambling addiction. I'm the first one to stand up and say I have a gambling problem. But you know what? It's like anything else. There's alcohol addiction, there's cigarette addiction, there's sex addiction, there's drug addiction, okay? There's thousands of types of addictions. But I did not lose everything I had to my addiction. Because you know why? Because I said I'm not going to let that happen. If you have it in your heart and you're strong enough, you can beat any addiction. I don't care who you are. Real quick story that touches my heart. Several years ago, my husband and I went to Rios, New Mexico. We invited my mother-in-law to come, okay? She'd never been to a horse track in her life, or a casino. Okay. We get up there, we go to the horse track. I had taken her to other places, but we get to the horse track, and I'm like, Mom, would you like to make a bet? Oh, no, I don't think I better do that. Now, picture an 85-year-old frail woman, okay? By the time we left there, the woman was running along the fence with the horses hollering, go, go. That was the best day of my life because I seen her open up and be who she was. That's what people need. We need this racino. Thank you.
Cheryl Stiles. Mary McDonough.
Good afternoon. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners and staff, thank you very much for coming down and sitting through this today. The proposals here, Lawrenceburg and Tucumcari. I am Mary Lou McEnon. I've lived here 27 years. For the record, I'm a recovering alcoholic. Like has been said before, if it's in your heart and it's in your mind to overcome it, you can, and there are plenty of ways to get help if you want it. That being said, I've listened to all the proposals today. I've been here since early this morning. I am all for economic development. That's my statement. I am for the racino, I understand that, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that you have been tasked with this job. And I know you will make the best decision, where's the best place to put it, which is the best company to go with, because you know more than I do. But I did want to go on the record saying that if it comes to Clovis, I will support it. I support it now. I love horse racing. I was actually trained to work the tracks. I'm from New York. I was going to go to Ocala and work the tracks, and I didn't. I ended up in Clovis in the military, thanks to my ex-husband. So I'm glad you're tasked with this because you know what you're doing. I'm sorry you're tasked with it because you know what you're doing. But thank you very much for considering Clovis. Thank you.
Clyde Davis. You have to leave. Chad Sidek. If there's anybody else who would like to speak, can you please come up to the podium? Thank you.
I thought I had some.
Please state your name for the record.
Tom Gottschalk, and I'm here tonight representing the New Mexico Horse Breeders Association. Chairman Willis, members of the commission, staff. Y'all ready for this to be over yet? We had a board meeting on Wednesday again for the New Mexico Horse Breeders Association, and we voted in favor of the 6th license. It looks like conservative estimates reflect that 6th license would result in an additional $10 to $12 billion in purses per year, which would be roughly a 20% increase overall in purses. Racing is on an upswing. We had heard earlier today that New Mexico was one of 3 states, contrary to what you may have heard elsewhere tonight. New Mexico is one of 3 states that has shown an increase in the thoroughbred and American bred, 1 of 3. It wasn't a lot, but we slowed the decline, and it looks like we're on the upswing. What was also mentioned earlier was a tremendous success that our New Mexico bred sale had this year. We were up over double digits for both quarter horses and thoroughbreds. Handle is up at all the racetracks that have run so far this year, which is indicative of increased gaming activity. So right now, it's a good time to be involved in this industry. So we wholeheartedly support the commission in your task in settling on who's the best candidate, and we wish you the best of luck in your deliberations and appreciate your hard work. Thank you very much.
Jody Brooks, Commissioner Willis, Commission. I don't envy your job, I promise you. First of all, I would like to state that the gentleman earlier, I am the Texas. I'm from Texas, love Texas. You know, one thing I have always supported is New Mexico racing. I come here today with over 15 partnerships, and we own over 100 horses. And all those partnerships racing across the state of New Mexico. Contrary to belief, we still lack opportunity to run those horses and the ability to kind of keep our bills paid. We go 8 to 10 weeks in between races sometimes. Some horses don't even get out of meet. So with all that said, you know, there's a lot of hairs to be split in what you've all heard today. And that's the job that you have to do. One of the things we've heard about casinos between Zia and Clovis, New Mexico is the fact that, yeah, it's close, but it's not as close as the end of the Mountain Gods and Rando Savannas. And it's not as close as 5 Indian casinos and one racetrack casino in Albuquerque. So I think there's a lot of difference to be said, and I'll assure you there's no competition in the northern panhandle of Texas. So I'm here just for the record to state that I want to see you issue the 6 racing license. Where you issue that license, these people in Clovis have done a great job. I haven't been with you everywhere else. But when you do that, you have the tools and you have the information to know that. And I've dealt with all of you in the past. I trust you. I know you'll make a good decision. The other thing that I want to bring clarity to is the New Mexico Horse Breeders Association, which has probably over 1,000 horse owners, and it sent you a letter that said they support this track. You got a letter from the New Mexico Horsemen's Association that said the New Mexico Horsemen's Association did not support this 6 license. This New Mexico Horsemen, over 5,000 members strong, was not polled. We have the ability to do that electronically. We have the ability to vote electronically over the internet. We have the ability to be asked, and 3 members on that horseman's board decided to write the letter at a meeting with no agenda. So for the horsemen, we want another track, and we want opportunity. And we put on $300,000 personally a day.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Eddie Taylor. We're lifelong resident of Clovis. I've taken cattle industry, horse industry, and the railroad. 41 years there. I've watched businesses come and go in Clovis. I've watched people come and go in Clovis. My wife operates a business here that caters to the military services all across the nation. We've had a lot of things. Coast Guard people here in Clovis want her to make patches for them. A lot of the airmen that come in our business, that's what they ask. What do we do with this? And it's really disheartening because there's not a lot to do. We've got a couple of little musical parts and a handful of other options that help, but it's not enough. And so I'm all for the racing. Bring it to Clovis. Let this community stand up and make it proud of what we can do. We will make it a thing to be proud of. That's all I got to say.
Sir, did you sign the sheets?
I did not.
Can you come around and sign those, please? Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
record, and I'm actually here representing Commissioner Fidel Madrid. He wrote a letter that he asked me to read, and so I'll go ahead and do that. We are so glad to finally have you here for the great opportunity of Clovis. I have received over 300 emails and texts, and everyone have been positive, not one negative. I have been amazed at all of the support. The only negatives we are having are from the same people that are against everything. They were against when the city expanded parks with soccer fields, major zoo renovations, which are now, we are the second largest zoo in the state. They were against the splash park, the renovated historic Hotel Clovis, and these are just a few things that they were against. And now we all know that they have all been such an asset for our city. They were also against the Red Arrow Bingo, and as it has turned into one of Clovis' finest things for the whole family. Not only do they offer bingo, but large video games, skee-ball, and many other things for kids of all ages. We know you have a very tough decision to make, and not everyone will be happy, but you still have to make the decision that's best for the good of the people, this city, and our state. So we ask you to make the best decision for all of the above. We believe that Clovis is the choice for the 6th license, and we look forward to the groundbreaking where we can welcome you back again. Thank you again.
Hello, my name is Claude Fincher, and I train racehorses in New Mexico. I'm 47 years old, and I've held a New Mexico Racing Commission license, or New Mexico Racing license since I was 13 years old. I not only train horses, but I own horses and I breed horses. I'm knee deep in the horse racing. It's been my life. It's what I've done my whole life, and I'm invested fully. I want to see the breeding come back. I want to see new clients. I want to see new owners. I want to see the racing industry grow in New Mexico. We have a great opportunity to add another racetrack and more opportunities to run. That's the biggest problem right now is I carry a stable of 70 horses right now, and probably 40 of them haven't had an opportunity to run. I am totally for the 6th license. The letter that got brought up from the Horsemen's Association saying we were against it is not accurate whatsoever. I'm on the committee at Zia Park. I was not asked, nor I know of 3 or 4 other people on that committee that were not even asked. So that letter is not accurate whatsoever. We do need more opportunities to run. Not only do we need more opportunities to run, we want to recruit and bring in more new clients, more horses, more people in the breeding business. This is a very lucrative, we have a golden egg right here. And on my side, I'm into the horse racing part. The casino part is not what I'm into, but I'm in the horse racing part, and I want to see it grow. I want to see it be a great industry. And I don't know I have 30 to 40 clients, and I don't not know one that is against the license. And we want more opportunities, and I really want to see the industry grow and get better. And I think one of your toughest jobs is picking the right person or the right group to put in this casino or racino or whatever. The one thing I do want you to consider strongly is I want to be for the horsemen, I want it to be horse friendly, where people can come to the races, enjoy the races, and the horsemen have a good place and have a safe place to train their horses. And we're about the horse racing. The casino part is not what we're about. We want it to be here for the horsemen 100%. Thank you.
Yeah.
Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Yvonne Greco. I have been in Clovis a year to the date. I lived in Japan for 5 years. Just moved from Belgium, imported my horse from Belgium to this lovely city on behalf of my PCS to Cannon Air Force Base. I'm not speaking on Cannon Air Force Base, but in reference to a lot of the people that you heard earlier today speaking about what can their airmen do? What can we do? Everyone's, oh no, I have an assignment to Cannon. this would be a fantastic opportunity. It was going to get I personally loved it. Excuse me for my outfit. I was working with the horses before I came over here. There's so many active duty military members that have horses, that enjoy horses, that want to have this opportunity to go to other places and grow in the horse community. In this town, it's small, it's quaint, the people are really friendly. It's very, very homey. And to have such a big military community, for them to actually be excited to come to Cannon and excited to come to Clovis, it's a fantastic place to be. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, and I was born in upstate New York. So I would love to have the opportunity to bring in people in the horse community, whether they gamble, casino, or not. It doesn't matter. I think it's going to be a fantastic opportunity, and myself as a homeowner, horse owner, etc., and a military member. I may or may not have the opportunity to PCS from here in 2 to 4 years, but if I have the opportunity to finish my enlistment and do my 20 years and it be my final base is Cannon, New Mexico, then so be it. I'll be here because the area is fantastic, and the growth that this community has, the capability it has to grow and get larger is absolutely fantastic. It's very inviting to see that as a military member, to be excited to go to your base, not to dread it. So this is a fantastic opportunity, in my opinion.
Hello, my name is Jamal Williams. I'm working in Clovis. I represent the skilled labor workforce here in Clovis. I have a bachelor's degree in electronics from over at Eastern, a degree from CCC. I was part of a big expansion, $150 million expansion, and I can personally testify that, hey, there's people that are excited to work here, people who will come to Clovis. And we brought in hundreds of people from out of town for construction and, there's a lot of people who end up staying here in Clovis. So, like I said, there's a skilled labor workforce here in Clovis, and we want you guys to come. We vote yes.
Very good. We certainly thank all the people in the city of Clovis for the hospitality shown to the Racing Commission, our attorney, all of our staff. And the best thing I can call for right now probably is a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Congratulations.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I hear train tracks, train horns at night when I'm dead. So I'm a light sleeper. That's
How are we done? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Where'd you get that? Now, wait a minute. Where's my cables? Are they plugged in here?
We're checked over there.
There we go. Yeah, I think I got it.
Great job, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you. Okay, what we can do, I've got two cables that are, no. Can you hand me those?
Okay, all right, let me ask you a second. He's been texting. I saw you texting. Yeah.